Mu Yue arrived in Konoha around noon and went straight to Kushina's house. Kushina and Minato were usually there. Even if Minato was tied up with official business, Kushina rarely missed being home. Mu Yue was lucky. Minato wasn't busy today and was having lunch when he arrived. "Mu Yue, you're back in Konoha." Minato and Kushina greeted him happily. Mu Yue had spent far less time in Konoha over the past year. Between alliance duties and travel, he'd only been home about a quarter as much. So it had been a while since they'd seen him. Naruto, looking between Minato and Mu Yue with a puzzled expression, blurted, "Two daddies, and one daddy in white clothes." "The one in white is your uncle Mu Yue," Minato said with a warm smile, ruffling Naruto's hair and then turning to Mu Yue. "Are you staying just a couple of days this time or longer?" "Just 2 days," Mu Yue replied. "I came back to make a deal with Kurama, borrow some of its chakra." He tapped Kushina's abdomen as he spoke. Kushina snorted. Her chakra and her experience as Kurama's Jinchuriki meant she could manage the seal and negotiate far more effectively than most. In the mental realm, Kurama bristled at Kushina's casual tone, resentful even, but Mu Yue smiled and shook his head. "I'll negotiate with Kurama myself," he said politely. He was confident he could get the chakra, and he preferred chakra willingly offered by a tailed beast. It worked better than any taken forcibly. Mu Yue closed his eyes and slipped into Kushina's consciousness. He found the familiar inner space with the huge cage, and inside it, Kurama. The Nine Tails glanced at him, surprised. "Hayate Mugetsu," it said. "You're amusing." Kurama bared its teeth. "Have that woman release the seal. With you restrained by it, the chakra you can get won't be enough." "Aren't you curious how I plan to handle this?" Mu Yue asked lightly. Kurama scoffed. "Handling? I'm the strongest of the tailed beasts. Why would I give you anything? I'm only doing this because you're tolerable." Tsundere, as always. Kurama found excuses, but Mu Yue simply turned to Kushina and said, "Kushina, I'll trouble you." Kushina didn't hesitate. She placed her hand on her belly and released the 4 symbols seal. The inner cage dissolved, and Kurama stepped out, tail swishing. It laughed and thrust a massive paw toward Mu Yue, as if to test him. Instead, Mu Yue met it smiling. He clenched his right hand into a fist and bumped it against Kurama's. The moment their fists met, the Nine Tails' vast, oceanic chakra poured into Mu Yue. He sealed it away quickly and efficiently. "When this is over, you really don't want anything in return?" Mu Yue asked. Kurama bristled but gave a snort. Mu Yue continued, softer now. "By the time you're free, the world will have been developed by humans. There won't be any big, untouched mountains left for you." Kurama's tails twitched. It had noticed the truth in that. What would the Nine Tails do with nowhere to live when it was unsealed? "I have my ways," it said haughtily, though there was a hint of worry beneath the pride. "Don't worry, the Alliance will help," Mu Yue reassured it. Kurama's expression softened, then returned to stubbornness. "If anything comes up, tell Kushina. She'll pass it on to me. I'll see what I can do." Satisfied, Mu Yue left the mental space. Kushina immediately resealed the seal. "It gave you that much? After living in my body so long, it never willingly paid rent," she complained, indignant but amused. Mu Yue didn't press the point. He shifted the conversation to everyday things and parenting, and after a short stay he headed north, first to the Land of Wind. Because of Mu Yue's position, Chiyo personally guided him to Rasa's home. "Since the 4th Kazekage is residing in Six-Path City, Yakushimaru is looking after those 3 kids," she explained. Yakushimaru greeted them at the door, apron on, and the 3 children peeked out curiously. "This is the 5th Kazekage, and this is Mutsuki leader, Lord Mu Yue," Yakushimaru introduced quickly. Tamari and Konkuro, elder and more outgoing, called out polite greetings as taught. Young Gaara, copying them, gave a shy hello. Mu Yue crouched to Gaara's level and smiled. "It's nothing to worry about. I'm here to make a deal with the tenant in your body." Gaara didn't fully understand, but before he could, Mu Yue had already negotiated with Shukaku. The Ichibi had quietly agreed. Previously, other Jinchuriki had helped persuade Shukaku that the Alliance would respect Tailed Beast's freedom. With many of their kind vouching for it, Shukaku had been content to stay peacefully with Gaara, and it transferred chakra to Mu Yue without fuss. From there, Mu Yue went to the bird country to see Roshi and the 4 Tails. Four Tails was familiar with Mu Yue and, on hearing his request, bumped fists and gave a large portion of chakra at once. Next were the two beasts in the hidden mist, Three Tails and Six Tails. Three Tails had once died indirectly because of Mu Yue. During the Konoha Hidden Mist War, Mu Yue had killed the Three Tails Jinchuriki, but the beast bore no grudge. Both Three Tails and Six Tails willingly gave Mu Yue their chakra. Then he visited Hidden Cloud for 8 Tails and 2 Tails, and Hidden Waterfall for 7 Tails. After collecting chakra from 8-tailed beasts, Mu Yue traveled to Iwagakure. He'd saved the Land of Earth for last because the course he intended to give there had one purpose: to teach Earth-release chakra nature transformation. Word spread fast. Mu Yue was coming to teach Earth-release, and tens of thousands of Iwagakure shinobi packed in, eager to learn. With so many learners practicing under his guidance, Mu Yue's Earth nature blossomed dramatically. By the 4th day, his Earth-release chakra nature transformation broke through 15,000 points and reached perfection. That meant all 7 of his major chakra natures were perfected. When Earth release hit perfect level, something terrible and awe-inspiring rose from him. The enormous chakra inside his body surged and condensed. The tens of thousands of Iwagakure ninja around him fell silent, stunned by the abyssal pressure in his aura. Has he suddenly enlightened? Is this a breakthrough? They whispered. Don't panic. Lord Mu Yue is cultivating. Quiet. Don't disturb him, Han said gravely, and the crowd fell still out of courtesy and awe. Mu Yue gradually released the seals within himself, allowing the tailed beast chakra he'd gathered to flow. Ichibi, 2 Tails, 3 Tails. As Kurama's chakra was also released, Mu Yue pushed himself further. Sun breathing, full concentration. He drew in vast natural energy and entered sun-breathing sage mode. Brilliant golden-red chakra shone around him, and 9 small black orbs rapidly formed and began to orbit behind him. The perfected 7 chakra natures, the combined chakra of the tailed beasts, and the sage chakra of sun-breathing all intertwined. The power of his bloodline, the tailed beasts, and sage techniques erupted together. The reaction was spectacular and terrible. The ground cracked. A brilliant red pillar of light shot through the clouds and into the sky, visible across the ninja world. Is that another Hagoromo? I can't see through him, the great toad sage muttered from Mount Myoboku, blinking at the light. A great white snake in Ryuchido Cave quietly used an enormous amount of Sage chakra to mask the cave's location. In Shikutsu Forest, Katsuyu's sage felt the aura and sighed in admiration. Even a monk in the Land of Rivers looked up, surprised. When the pillar of light faded, the oppressive, destructive feeling pressure eased, but the golden red aura and the black orbs made it clear something extraordinary had just happened. Mu Yue could feel it too. Without the tailed beast's chakra, he likely couldn't have condensed 9 truth-seeking balls or pushed his 6 paths power so far so quickly. Borrowing their chakra had accelerated what would otherwise have taken him much longer. My apologies for the damage to your village, Mu Yue said, bowing slightly. Even as alliance leader, he couldn't see to ignore collateral damage. He then condensed Earth-release chakra and with a small motion, mended the broken ground. Not at all, Mutsuki leader. You weren't doing this on purpose, Kitsuchi said with a serious, grateful look. Besides, your teaching benefits us all. Listening to Mu Yue sensei once is better than a year of solitary training. There was truth in the praise. Under Mu Yue's methodical instruction, attendees learned and progressed rapidly. After that breakthrough, Mu Yue stayed a full week in Iwagakure to finish his lectures. He then toured other villages, teaching the remaining chakra natures in turn, before returning to Six Path City to continue his cultivation. His ordinary chakra reserves were still only around 17 million, enough, but not yet sufficient to sustain his full power without borrowing tailed beast chakra. So he needed to keep training and increasing his reserves. Sometime later, an urgent intelligence report arrived from Konoha. The message was brief and startling. 2 shinobi had appeared in Rorin, and both of them were Jinchuriki. Mu Yue set the intelligence report aside and went to check on Obito and the others training at the city's grounds. A few days earlier, Obito, Kakashi, Rin, and Shisui had come to Six Path City to learn sage arts from him. Naruto is here again. Do you want to come with me? Mu Yue asked his students. Naruto? Did Minato-sensei bring him to Six Path City to visit? Obito paused his training, curious. Not the Naruto from our world, but that Uzumaki Naruto, right? Kakashi caught the emphasis on again. That's right, him. Mu Yue nodded. So he's big brother Naruto, not little brother Naruto. Obito brightened. We have to go. I want to ask about their world. Big brother Naruto must have something important to discuss, right? If he's in trouble, we should help him. After all, he taught me the Rasengan. I want to understand their world better. Rin, too, was curious, wondering whether another version of herself existed in Naruto's world and what that life was like. I want to go see, too. Shisui asked to come along as well. Seeing all four eager to go, Mu Yue led them to Roran at full speed. Once they arrived, Obito's sharp eyes spotted an elderly person who needed help. He created a shadow clone to assist the elder, while his main body kept up with Mu Yue. In just a few minutes, they reached Naruto and the dark-skinned ninja standing at his side. Big brother Naruto, long time no see. Obito strode forward and greeted him warmly. Naruto looked surprised at the taller Obito approaching. Little brother Obito, you've grown fast. You're already as tall as me. Hearing the familiar big brother Naruto, Naruto realized this was the Obito he had met before and clapped him on the shoulder. It's okay. 7 years have passed. Obito blinked. 7 years? Naruto, startled, hadn't been keeping strict track of time. He thought at most 2 months had passed since he returned. Wait, on your side, 7 years have passed? Obito looked taken aback. Kakashi's expression turned curious. The two Narutos were starting to seem more and more similar. Hold on, that means... Obito's eyes lit up as he realized something. Uzumaki Naruto could also be the little brother Naruto they knew. Big brother Naruto, Naruto, how old are you this year? How old are you, Obito? Naruto countered, remembering their earlier conversation. 17. Then I'm 18. Obito looked disappointed. He had hoped to be older than Uzumaki Naruto after so much time. Killer Bee cut in with his characteristic rhythm. You blockhead idiot! Didn't we come to gather reinforcements? Why are you having a tea party? Uncle B, I know that, but don't rush, Naruto replied quickly. He explained that he had come to Roran with a let's just try attitude. He'd used nine-tailed chakra mode combined with his breathing technique chakra mode the whole way to get here fast. He hadn't expected to arrive at all on his first attempt. If that man is willing to help us, the odds of winning this war improve a lot. Eight Tails, speaking from within the shared consciousness, had immediately sensed Mu Yue's nature. Mu Yue possessed extraordinarily strong chakra and even contained the chakra of the nine-tailed beasts. Eight Tails could feel a familiar recognition in those chakras. Mu Yue was the second person, after the Six-Path Sage, to earn the approval of all nine-tailed beasts. What's going on? He actually has so much of my chakra inside him. On the other side, Nine Tails also perceived Taiju Beast chakra within Mu Yue. Having already experienced time travel once, Nine Tails understood quickly that its counterpart in this world had acknowledged Mu Yue. Naruto, growing serious, told Mu Yue about their world. Uchiha Madara has started the 4th Shinobi World War and wants to destroy the entire ninja world. Obito frowned. Madara causing trouble during their 3rd Shinobi World War had been bad enough. He'd never expected Madara to provoke a 4th war in Naruto's world. He was grateful their world had Mu Yue. Otherwise, another world war might have broken out within a decade of the 3rd. Big brother Mu Yue, I think our two worlds can unite and help eliminate this crisis. Naruto added that if he were to travel back in time, he wouldn't want to confuse history, so traveling between different worlds was a safer solution. Though not identical, the worlds were similar enough that Mu Yue and his people could learn from Naruto's world's experience. Interworld travel isn't that simple, Mu Yue said, shaking his head. He guessed Naruto had linked to both worlds' dragon veins to find them, and dragon vein travel tended to be unstable. Naruto's arrival had landed him 7 years ahead in Mu Yue's world when far less time had passed in his own. If you can't come over, that's fine. At least I get more training time here, Naruto said. His real goal for coming wasn't to recruit reinforcements, but to train. He expected to gain at least another month and, with Mu Yue's instruction, to grow strong enough to protect his comrades in the war. Obito noticed Naruto's hesitation about asking for warriors, and Mu Yue offered a compromise. While Flying Thunder God technique couldn't cross worlds, Mu Yue had Celebi. Celebi's time and space powers were master level. With Naruto as a living coordinate, Celebi could carry people across occasionally. Full cooperation between the worlds might not be possible, but sending reinforcements from time to time was feasible. No need to bring people over now, Naruto said with a smile. Just training my breathing technique for a while would be enough. Mu Yue glanced at Naruto's status and saw his breathing technique and sage arts were already advanced. He decided to teach Naruto the breathing stream sage art directly. With Naruto's Mount Myoboku foundation, Mu Yue estimated he'd master the breathing stream sage art in a day or two. He even taught Killer Bee a few things so he wouldn't just stand by and watch. Eight Tails, impressed, thought privately about Mu Yue's power, while Nine Tails merely fell into deep thought. Don't overthink it. I'm experienced with dealing with Uchiha Madara, Mu Yue added with a faint smile. To him, even Madara at his peak was manageable. Only Six Paths Madara, as Ten Tails Jinchuriki, would be a worthy opponent. Obito, with a light cough, reminded Naruto that Mu Yue had defeated Uchiha Madara in the Third Shinobi World War and recounted how Mu Yue had single-handedly beaten the combined elites of the four great shinobi villages. Naruto breathed easier. If Madara was gone from Mu Yue's world, that world was probably much safer. Then I'll trouble you, Naruto said solemnly. If you get injured in battle, please retreat quickly. He thanked Mu Yue, Obito, and the others, storing the favor in his heart. If Mu Yue's world ever needed them, Naruto would come without hesitation. Once the logistics were settled, Shisui stepped forward. Hello, Naruto. Could I trouble you for your hand? Naruto scratched his head and extended his right hand. You are? I am Uchiha Shisui. There seems to be something of me inside your body. Shisui grabbed Naruto's hand. He'd felt his counterpart's chakra in Naruto the moment he saw him. Since Shisui and Naruto had never met before, the only explanation was that the Shisui from another world had left chakra in Naruto. As Shisui channeled chakra, Naruto made a retching motion, and a black crow shot from his mouth, landing on Shisui's shoulder. Obito gaped. Big brother Naruto, how did you do that? Hiding emergency rations in your stomach. Naruto, bewildered, furrowed his brow until a memory surfaced. I remember now, Itachi gave it to me. While searching for Sasuke, Naruto had met Uchiha Itachi and been subjected to a genjutsu. Shisui reached out and felt the crow's eye, Mangekyo Sharingan. Is that the Itachi who annihilated the Uchiha clan? He must have tried to use you for genjutsu, Shisui said, frowning. Could that be your Mangekyo, Shisui? It should be. Shisui's voice dropped. It seems the me from another world was killed by Itachi, who took my eye. Naruto hesitate. Madara had told him plenty about Itachi, but Naruto couldn't be sure all Madara said was true. Still, Shisui's deduction fit the facts. His world's Shisui had been killed, and his eye was now in Itachi's possession. Shisui, you can try transplanting that eye. It should upgrade your left eye to an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, Mu Yue suggested. As an alternate self-transplant, compatibility would be excellent and failure unlikely. Rin, could you perform the transplant? Shisui asked. He didn't want to miss the chance to strengthen himself. Leave it to me, Rin agreed with a smile. Obito watched with envy, an eternal Mangekyo almost for free just for showing up. Obito suddenly remembered something. By the way, big brother Naruto, our worlds are different. Your world doesn't have Minato-sensei and me, right? Naruto shook his head. I know, our world doesn't have big brother Mu Yue, but our world does have you, Obito. After I went back, I asked around about you. You mean I exist? Obito was taken aback. He had feared he might have died a nobody in that world. In our world, you, Obito, are a Konoha war hero who sacrificed himself during the Third Shinobi World War to complete an important mission, Naruto said. Relief flooded Obito. He did die in that world's war, but at least as a hero. Kakashi, did you hear that? The me from another world was a hero. If he hadn't died young, he might have become Hokage. Obito couldn't help gloating a little at Kakashi. Any news about me? Rin asked. You also died in the Third Shinobi World War, Naruto answered honestly. Rin sighed softly, regretful that there wouldn't be another version of herself to communicate with. The four exchanged looks. They had matched facts from both worlds to deduce each other's fates, and, while the information belonged to their counterparts, it was accurate. Killer B scratched his chin. So there's a younger version of my brother here? B, don't forget, this world has you too, Eight Tails warned. If Killer B provoked the young fourth Raikage and the Raikage couldn't handle him, what hope would he have against the younger Killer B? Idiot, bastard, the other me isn't me. I'm the one and only Killer B, B chortled. Eight Tails was speechless. Mu Yue began teaching. By the end of the morning, Naruto had mastered the breathing stream sage art. By afternoon, he could stack it with his breathing technique chakra mode. Satisfied with Naruto's progress, Mu Yue planned to leave at noon the next day after a few more lessons. That night, Naruto couldn't sleep. He used a shadow clone to call Shisui and Obito out. Obito yawned when he appeared. Big brother Naruto, what's wrong? Naruto looked from one to the other, then spoke plainly. There are things I learned from Uchiha Madara about Itachi. I need to tell you too. Because the topic was sensitive, Naruto had summoned only the Uchiha members. Itachi didn't betray Konoha. Destroying the Uchiha clan was a mission from Konoha to stop the clan's planned coup. Itachi annihilated the Uchiha to protect his younger brother Sasuke and the village, then pretended to be a rogue ninja and infiltrated Akatsuki, where Uchiha Madara was. He told them everything Madara had revealed. The three of them listened in the dark, each wrestling with the implications of the story. Naruto, big brother, are you stupid? You actually believe what the enemy says. Uchiha Madara must have told you that to get something out of you. Obito grumbled. Before he died, Uchiha Madara had told him to look for a stone monument at Nanga Shrine, advice Obito had never bothered to follow. Why take orders from someone who had wanted to kill Mu Yue and Rin? Maybe it was all meant to smear Konoha, throw the village into chaos, and then make it easier for Madara to move against them. Obito preferred to act like he hadn't heard Madara's words. After all, the Itachi from Naruto's world was already dead. Kakashi told me not to tell anyone, he added noncommittally. He wasn't sure whether it was true. Naruto nodded. He hadn't told anyone about Itachi either. Obito's face flickered. Even though he knew this Kakashi wasn't the Kakashi he knew, it felt weird. Obito called Naruto big brother, and Naruto still called Kakashi sensei, making him seem one generation younger for no real reason. What goal could he have? I can't think of anything except to piss me off. Naruto shook his head. He'd wanted to punch Madara the moment he heard he was manipulating Sasuke, but Madara's power and methods were strange. He came and went without a trace. Even Yamato's wood release had been useless against him. Maybe he was uncomfortable because I convinced Nagato? Maybe he wanted to irritate me. Obito chuckled and grumbled casually. So your world has Nagato as well. He wouldn't have been part of that evil Akatsuki organization, would he? The name rang a bell. Before learning the truth about the parallel worlds, Obito and the others had guessed Nagato and Yahiko's Akatsuki might have been the origin of the darker Akatsuki. He was Madara's subordinate in your world, Naruto admitted, but Nagato isn't like that scoundrel. He wanted peace. His methods were wrong. Only lies mixed with enough truth can fool people, Naruto said. Maybe some of what Madara said was true. Shisui, who had been thinking, spoke up with a slightly different opinion from Obito's. Yes, Madara had ill intent, but that didn't mean everything he said was false. If the conflict between the clan and the village keeps escalating, it very well could lead to a military coup. Shisui had spent a long time dealing with Uchiha Konoha tensions and felt the matter more keenly than Obito. The second Hokage had been a Senju, and some Uchiha had already wanted to stage a coup to seize power. After the Nine Tails incident, when the clan was marginalized, that sentiment had only worsened. I thought so too, Naruto said, scratching his head. Our two worlds must have a lot in common. I thought this info might help, so I called you here. Naruto's counterpart in this world had a happy family life. Naruto hoped Sasuke here could find the same peace as his counterpart, not lose his family to his older brother, not turn to revenge and betray the village. Shisui, you know more about the clan. What do you think? Obito asked, looking to him. Outwardly, Obito was the Uchiha's current prominent ninja, but he didn't care for clan politics. With only a few close friends in the clan, Shisui and Uchiha Inaho, he wasn't familiar with its inner workings. Thanks for the information, Naruto, but this kind of thing won't happen in our world, Shisui said. Under his and Mu Yue's efforts, the Uchiha were already integrating into Konoha like any other clan. Once the older, stubborn members passed on, the clan would be fully assimilated. Shisui explained the root causes of the coup in Naruto's world, long-standing grievances compounded by the Nine Tails incident, and Naruto, listening, scratched his head. So the Uchiha clan won't be annihilated? Shisui nodded. From how things are going here, no. That's good, Naruto said, his face breaking into a bright smile. Sasuke here could still have a happy life. Naruto big brother, you're not doing well. If you want to be Hokage, you need to read more, Obito teased, feeling oddly superior. He fully understood Shisui's analysis, like Mu Yue explaining history and politics. Uchiha Itachi, Shisui sighed. If Madara's words were true, Itachi had been a tragic figure, forced into bearing enormous burdens from both clan and village at a young age. That didn't excuse what he did. Itachi was still the killer who slaughtered the Uchiha. He'd claimed to be a spy for the Akatsuki, but according to Naruto, Itachi's infiltration had little effect. Why he had accepted his ocular powers and what he planned to do with them remained a mystery. Since he's already dead, there's nothing we can do, Shisui added, shaking his head as he dismissed the distracting thought. If Itachi had lived, he could have been brought to the other world to find the truth. Now, the truth probably only belonged to Konoha's higher-ups and Madara in the other world. Still, Shisui resolved to pay more attention to Itachi in their world. Experience showed people from the two worlds were extremely similar. To keep their Itachi from going astray, Shisui would have to guide him properly, just as Mu Yue had guided Nagato in their world onto the right path. A delicious smell pulled Naruto out of those heavy thoughts the next morning. It's Mu Yue big brother's ramen. Naruto's eyes snapped open. He threw on clothes and leapt toward the aroma. They weren't in a hotel, but a large guest house. Last night's dinner had been Mu Yue's exceptional cooking as well. Naruto burst toward the kitchen, but stopped dead at the sight of a white-haired figure at the dining table. Jiraiya, slurping noodles, raised an eyebrow when he noticed Naruto staring. Even if you stare, I'm not giving you my ramen, Jiraiya said, unapologetic. For a traveler like Jiraiya, getting to try Mu Yue's cooking wasn't trivial. Naruto wiped the corner of his eye and laughed. Who wants Erosenen's leftovers? Mu Yue made one for me. He darted into the kitchen and found a steaming bowl of pork miso chashu ramen waiting. Take it, it's fresh. Mu Yue smiled faintly. Naruto's eyes shone as if about to water. Mu Yue big brother, thank you, he said and bowed seriously. He really was moved. He missed Jiraiya. Mu Yue had found Jiraiya for him and even made his favorite ramen. He felt unworthy of such kindness from someone not even from his world. Mu Yue tapped Naruto on the forehead with 2 fingers. Don't overthink it, ramen goes cold. Naruto nodded and invited Mu Yue to eat. Mu Yue accepted, carrying his bowl out, and others, attracted by the scent, soon joined. Uncle Toad, you're here too? Are you coming with us to the other world? Obito asked, seeing Jiraiya. Go to another world? Jiraiya echoed. He'd been traveling through the countries around Ruran when Hefeng called him. He still thought of the Naruto in his memory as a future ninja. Naruto wanted to tell him not to risk it, but he didn't want to stop Jiraiya. He couldn't if Jiraiya had decided. Hefeng and Obito had volunteered to help. Their lives mattered too. And Naruto knew Jiraiya. Once he made up his mind to help, he couldn't be dissuaded. Obito looked at Hefeng. The parallel world wasn't entirely secret, but it required discretion. Hefeng nodded. No need to hide it from Jiraiya. If Jiraiya wanted to go, he could come along. Jiraiya wasn't weak and wouldn't be a burden. With Hefeng backing things, even if something went wrong, Hefeng could fix it. Big brother Naruto is actually not a future ninja, but Obito began to explain the parallel world and the 4th Shinobi World War. Jiraiya's face registered surprise, then thoughtfulness. Conversation dwindled. Only the sounds of slurping noodles filled the room. Leader Kakuzu's eyes lit up watching everyone eat. After Hefeng revealed his identity, he'd tasted Hefeng's cooking and declared it superb. Seems we arrived just in time, Kakuzu mused. Indeed, Nagato said. They'd hurried to Ruran so they could catch breakfast. Or maybe we missed the start, Sasori observed, noticing some bowls had cooled. Kakuzu, Sasori, Nagato! Naruto, finishing his bowl, glanced up and instinctively took a Hefeng fighting stance. Where did this blonde brat come from? How rude, Kakuzu muttered. arms crossed. As the Ninja World Alliance's finance chief, even the Kage called him Leader Kakuzu. Sorry, I mistook you for someone else, Naruto said awkwardly. Nagato was fine, but Kakuzu and Sasori looked almost identical to the ones in his memories. It made Naruto itch to use a Rasengan. He's that ninja from the parallel world, right? Sasori asked. Hefeng had contacted them last night, explained a bit, and asked them to come to Ruron for the journey. Kakuzu hadn't been on the initial list but had volunteered after hearing, citing a desire to verify his ideas. With his strength and durability, Hefeng had accepted him. Could he be Hefeng's descendant from the other world? Kakuzu wondered, looking between Hefeng and Naruto. Naruto didn't resemble Hefeng much in face, but his hair color was similar. Don't guess wildly, Hefeng said. There's no me in the other world. The two worlds are only similar, not identical. He produced several steaming bowls from a Daikokuten device. It truly kept things fresh. Naruto watched the newly arrived trio eat and sighed inwardly. He didn't fully understand Nagato and the others from Hefeng's world, but from their behavior and Obito's reactions, he could tell they weren't members of the dark Akatsuki that had ravaged the ninja world. Jiraiya, you're here too, Naruto said as another familiar voice arrived. Orochimaru. The image of Orochimaru in Naruto's memories, the man who killed the third Hokage and destroyed Konoha, made Naruto tense. He forced himself to stay calm, remembering that not every version of someone was the same. Are you coming to the other world? Jiraiya asked Orochimaru. Orochimaru nodded. Initially, besides the disciples Hefeng wanted for the experience, only Orochimaru and Sasori had been chosen, both research-focused and self-preserving types who could gain something from the parallel world and were unlikely to cause accidents. Are you going? Orochimaru asked Jiraiya. I want to go, Jiraiya said, grinning. After all, it's another ninja world. Not many ninja stories get to have this plot. Jiraiya watched Hefeng's face. Hefeng was older, but now the leader of the entire ninja world. If Hefeng had objections, Jiraiya would listen. Hefeng showed no surprise and nodded. Approval was understood. After breakfast, Naruto went to an open area to train. This world was beautiful, but it wasn't his world. His world still burned with war. He had to get stronger, so he could return with Hefeng and the others to stop Uchiha Madara. Sage Art, Yang Release Breathing Chakra Mode. Naruto adjusted his breathing, drew in natural energy, turned it into Sage Chakra, and combined Sage Mode with his breathing technique Chakra Mode. He charged a Hefeng Shadow Clone. Hefeng's current strength was beyond ordinary ninjas. Even a Shadow Clone set Naruto on edge. Obito, Kakashi, and others trained nearby, and when they grew tired, they came to watch. Around 9:30, Metkai arrived, called by Hefeng, and joined the training as well. So diligent, Obito sighed. Naruto seemed inexhaustible. Whenever he looked like he might stop, he would take a breath and push on. Naruto's current drive is what we felt facing Madara, Kakashi said. If we'd had a chance to pause and train like this back then, we might be like him now. Obito silently cursed. Damn Uchiha Madara. The man was a villain in every world. Naruto, your Yang Release and Wind Release are both good, but your Yang Enhancement is too crude. You need to integrate Sage Art, Yang Release, and Wind Release more smoothly, Hefeng called, halting Naruto's training. He couldn't create a Wind Release version of the Super Sage breathing technique for Naruto in so short a time, but refining the technique could raise Naruto's ceiling. Hefeng condensed natural energy, extended his palm, and demonstrated. Having mastered all 7 chakra natures, his comprehension of chakra had moved to another level. Fusing 2 natures was plea for him. Big brother Hefeng, I understand, Naruto said. He formed hand signs and created a large number of shadow clones. Shadow clone training was exhausting but fast. The 9-tailed beast in the cage of Naruto's inner world sensed something and looked surprised. Big brother Hefeng. Naruto was about to ask a question when a golden and fiery red flash suddenly entered his vision. He froze. Minato cheated? Kushina asked, strolling over to Mu Yue with exaggerated suspicion. Minato's been acting mysterious the whole way here and won't tell me why we came. Mu Yue had told Minato Namikaze about the parallel world, but only Minato knew the full truth. He'd wanted to surprise Kushina, so he hadn't said anything. Naruto's mouth opened on instinct. Dad. But he shut it immediately. These weren't his parents. This world had another Naruto, and these two were that Naruto's parents. The last time he'd been careless and called out, now that he understood, he couldn't risk stealing his parents. Dad, could it be? Kushina stared at Minato in shock, then glanced at Naruto. This is why Mu Yue called us here. You must have guessed, Minato said softly, smiling. Kushina nodded, then her expression snapped into maternal certainty. Naruto's face lit up. There's nothing like maternal recognition. Kushina's eyes traced the blonde young man in front of her. He carried Minato's features, but Kushina saw herself in him, too. It's an illegitimate child. He's definitely your illegitimate child from somewhere else, Minato, she accused, half angry. Minato blinked. Naruto froze. Both were speechless for a beat. No, you're wrong. Naruto hurriedly waved his hands. If the Minato and Kushina of this world started fighting or divorced because of him, he would have truly messed things up for the other Naruto. Look at his age. That's impossible, Minato added, trying to defuse the situation. Kushina laughed loudly. You two look so nervous. I'm just teasing. She studied the blonde young man closely. He not only resembled both of them, he also had her little verbal tick, and even the nine-tails chakra. Whatever the explanation, Kushina felt there had to be a deep connection. Okay, explain what's actually going on, she demanded, hands on her hips, eyes flicking between Mu Yue, Minato, and Naruto. Why does this kid look exactly like a grown-up Naruto, Naruto sighed and stepped forward. Mom, Aunt Kushina, I'm actually your child from another world. Kushina's eyebrows shot up. How can you be both aunt and child, she retorted. Minato took over the explanation. He's Uzumaki Naruto from another world. It's a world very much like ours. Many shinobi look and are named the same. In his world, he's our child. A whole other world? Kushina gaped. She'd been half joking about some time travel ninjutsu, but parallel worlds were more outrageous than she'd imagined. Somewhere out there, another version of her lived a life she didn't know. Tell me about the other me, she hastily demanded. What's she like? Does she really look like me? What's her temperament? Kushina, Minato smiled. He glanced at Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto had been an orphan and had little knowledge of his parents, but things weren't the same now. After returning, he had investigated and learned more. Naruto didn't know everything, but he knew enough. She's exactly the same, Naruto said. I don't know all the details about my mother, but she seems beautiful, gentle, brave, and strong. Kushina beamed. Haha, that's totally me. Hearing praise, even if it was meant for her counterpart, made her glow. Naruto scratched the back of his head and chuckled. He wouldn't have been able to describe Kushina at all if he hadn't sensed her chakra. It had taught him a lot about who she was. So how are your studies and ninja training? You have a girlfriend yet? Kushina pressed, shifting to parenting mode. Ninjutsu's okay, but I'm hopeless at studies, Naruto admitted. No girlfriend, but there's someone I like. Kushina sighed in sympathy. Where did he get that from, me or Minato? She muttered. I wasn't brilliant at theory either. Aunt Kushina, don't worry, Naruto said. If Naruto goes to school under your strict supervision, his grades won't be as bad as mine. There was a soft loneliness in his voice that betrayed him. Sometimes he wondered if being an orphan had contributed to his poor performance in class. Kushina's expressa unsoftened. Everyone has strengths and weaknesses. It's okay to be bad at studies. She took a step closer. And stop calling me Aunt Kushina. It feels strange. I may not be your biological mother, but I'm Kushina. Being a godmother should be fine. Isn't that? Naruto was touched, but still hesitant. Your name is Kushina, and I'm Kushina. Why can't I be your mother? She said more firmly, reaching up to gently stare into his eyes. I bet Naruto wouldn't mind having another good elder brother either. Mom. Naruto couldn't help it. His voice drifted to the word the image of his mother in the consciousness space had stirred in him. Kushina smiled and ruffled his hair. Good boy, she murmured, and added, You must have just finished training. It's lunchtime. Let Mom cook for you. Naruto glanced at Mu Yue. Mu Yue had said they'd depart for Naruto's world this afternoon. Of course we have to eat our fill before we leave. How else will we have the strength to fight? Mu Yue said. Naruto's face lit up. He'd never actually tasted a mother's home cooking. Kushina's chakra had given him impressions, but not a real meal. The idea of trying her food made him ridiculously excited. Because there were so many people, Mu Yue and Minato helped Kushina in the kitchen. Others went about their own business. Jiraiya hauled off to gather material and even dragged Orochimaru along. Kakuzu wandered through Lulan observing its development. Naruto and the rest sat in the living room, chatting while they waited. Be careful of Uchiha Madara. He's a scoundrel who commits all kinds of evil, Naruto warned seriously. After his parents' chakra had awakened, he'd learned that the Nine Tails attack which had taken their lives was Madara's doing. Madara himself had released the Nine Tails. So that's why we didn't find anyone when we were on guard, Obito realized aloud. He'd always wondered why there'd been no attacker the night Kushina gave birth. In their world, Uchiha Madara had already been killed by Mu Yue. If the enemy is dead beforehand, the attack naturally doesn't happen. This Madara is really hateful, Obito said, clenching his fist. Big brother Naruto, when the time comes, teacher Mu Yue and I will beat him up for you. Kakashi frowned, thinking deeper. What subordinates does Madara have now? He couldn't topple the whole ninja world alone. Why wait so long to move? Naruto hesitated. I'm not sure, but there are a lot, maybe tens of thousands. When he scanned the outside situation, he sensed countless auras. How could so many shinobi follow Madara? Kakashi wondered. Tens of thousands wasn't a small number. Are there remnants of Madara's faction in the ninja world? Kakashi mused. Tens of thousands couldn't be trained overnight. Naruto shook his head. Probably not. A lot of the chakra I sensed was identical. Identical chakra? Kakashi's expression grew thoughtful. Chakra is like a fingerprint. It shouldn't be exactly the same. If it is, it can only mean one thing. One person's chakra repeated. Could it be cloning technology? Kakashi speculated. Sasori dismissed the idea. Impossible. Mass-producing combat-capable clones is far different from ordinary clones. That's an extremely advanced tech. Madara is more likely using some forbidden ninjutsu to simulate cloning. Almost done. Everyone get ready to eat, Kushina called, emerging from the kitchen wearing an apron and a gentle smile. Mom, I know, I'm going to find Ero Sennin, Naruto stood. He gathered sage energy. Wash your hands first. Minato will go find him, Kushina suggested, hoping he'd rest a little more. I can find him in an instant using sage mode, Naruto said, and with that entered sage sensing. He located Jiraiya and Orochimaru and dashed off, informing Kakuzu on the way. This is so good, Naruto said around a mouthful of food, occasionally glancing at Minato and Kushina on either side of him. His sense of happiness climbed with every bite. Delicious? Kushina noticed his looks and put down her chopsticks. Delicious! Naruto muffled with his mouth full. If it's tasty, eat more. No rush, Kushina said, gently patting his back as he devoured the meal. In the kitchen, Kushina had already learned about the parallel world in full. When she discovered that traveling briefly back in time could be nearly instantaneous, both she and Minato wanted to join the rescue force. Mu Yue refused. The team was already full. Adding more people risked mishaps. Celebi's teleportation used chakra. The stronger a person's chakra, the more it drained Celebi. Bringing Kushina and Minato would be taxing. Mu Yue also felt awkward at the idea. The Minato Namikaze of Uzumaki Naruto's world would be resurrected later by Edo Tensei. If Mu Yue brought Kushina and Minato over now, there'd be two Minatos. It was better to avoid that complication. After dinner, Mu Yue gathered everyone. Sarah controlled the Dragon Vein's power. Celebi used that power to open a space-time channel, locking onto the coordinates based on Naruto's body. Mom, Dad, goodbye! Naruto waved at Minato and Kushina. Come back and visit when you can. Kushina called, waving. Because we're using the Dragon Vein's power, there might be a small fluctuation in time. Don't be nervous, just stay cautious, Mu Yue warned. With Celebi present, there wouldn't be huge errors like before, but a day or two of drift was possible. Not a fatal problem. Mu Yue had prepared life-saving repair elixirs. If the worst happened, he could travel again with Celebi to fix it. Everyone nodded. Mu Yue had already said his piece. With a flash of light, Mu Yue and his group disappeared from Minato and Kushina's sight. Good child, thank you, huh? In a corner of Lulan, an old woman thanked a young man who'd helped her, then found he'd vanished without a trace. You've linked your chakra threads to mine, Kankuro. You've improved. It's an honor to be praised by Sasori of the Red Sand. Sasori blinked. For a moment he couldn't place it. The conversation he'd overheard wasn't coming from Kankuro or Deidara, and yet one of the voices was his own. He turned, startled. Another Sasori? Is that a clone? Kankuro stiffened, about to unroll a puppet scroll, then yanked back when he noticed the Sasori who'd just shown up on the field. The Edo Tensei Sasori frowned at the sight of a second Sasori standing among the allied shinobi. What trick is this? Who knows? We'll find out if we blow him up, Deidara said with a bored chuckle. Kankuro slammed his hand down on a scroll labeled with Sasori's name. A puppet that looked remarkably like Sasori sprang into existence in front of them all. Interesting, the newly arrived Sasori said, folding his arms as he studied both sides. Two versions of himself in one battlefield. This was unexpected. Kankuro, are you with Uzumaki Naruto's side? Sasori had two aims here. Help Naruto fight and collect useful techniques and materials. From Naruto's earlier reaction, Sasori suspected that his counterpart here was an enemy of Naruto, so Kankuro, who had just summoned a puppet that considered Sasori an enemy, was probably an ally. He also noticed several shinobi in Kankuro's group wearing Konoha uniforms. Nonsense. Who exactly are you? Kankuro asked warily, keeping his hands busy with his puppets. Sasori hadn't attacked, and the Edo Tensei, Sasori didn't seem aligned with him either. For a moment, Kankuro couldn't tell friend from foe. How dare you impersonate Sasori-senpai? Watch me shatter you with my art, Deidara snarled, molding two clay bombs and hurling them at the newcomer. Sasori calmly produced a scroll and summoned a puppet that recalled the third Kazakage's human puppet. This was the modified version he'd made using the old puppet's chakra core and new components. It represented the high point of puppet ninjutsu and chakra technology. Magnet release, iron sand wall. With a flick of his hand, Sasori's puppet condensed chakra and raised a thick wall of iron sand to block Deidara's clay bombs. You call these fireworks art? Sasori scoffed, watching the iron sand hold firm. That's the third Kazakage-sama's iron sand magnet release? Impossible. Kankuro's eyes went wide. The third Kazakage's human puppet was supposed to have been destroyed, and the form didn't quite match the original. My art isn't children's fireworks. It's explosions. Art is an explosion. Deidara shouted, furious at being denied. Only something perfect and enduring can be art. If you call ephemeral explosions art, you'll never grasp true art. The Edo Tensei Sasori sneered. Deidara was enraged. He launched into his ultimate, C2 Dragon. Clay devoured by the mouths on his palms formed a massive white dragon. Deidara leapt on it and rode it into the sky. His explosive clay's weakness is lightning, Kankuro warned. If the mysterious Sasori could counter Deidara with lightning, he might be an ally. Sasori's finger twitched. Magnet release, iron sand world method. He sent the puppet up, then flooded the sky with magnetized iron sand, forming a lattice of spikes. Deidara hadn't expected such a reaction from this Sasori, and both his body and his clay dragon were pierced through the iron sand. What's the use? I'm immortal now, Deidara muttered. Being an Edo Tensei, he had an undying body, so most attacks wouldn't permanently harm him. But he wouldn't waste his art either. Self-detonation was reserved. Lightning release, false darkness. The newcomer Sasori said with a dry chuckle. He opened the puppet's right palm and activated a ninjutsu scroll. Bolts of lightning shot out. Iron conducts. Deidara and his dragon were stunned, unable to push through. The Edo Tensei Sasori watched, astonished. This iron sand magnet release level, this is the human puppet I modified from the third Kazakage. Its chakra and operating method match mine. This guy is practically another me. While the two Sasori studied one another, Sai and Kankuro cooperated to force the immobilized Deidara into a puppet equipped with a sealing function. Deidara struggled, still seething. Art is an explosion. When I get out, I'll show you my ultimate art. Sasori-senpai, hurry and defeat that fake and free me. Deidara begged the Edo Tensei Sasori, pinning his hopes on him. To Deidara, everyone else was useless besides him and this Edo Tensei Sasori. Sasori turned to the Edo Tensei. Do you agree with his so-called exploded art theory? Mere explosions are not art, the Edo Tensei Sasori replied flatly. Deidara's fists tightened with disbelief. His Sasori-senpai seemed to share more in common with the fake Sasori than with him, his teammate. However, he's my ally for now. Without warning, the Edo Tensei Sasori wove chakra threads and controlled Shin, feigning an attack on Kankuro while actually aiming for the sealed Deidara. Iron sand spikes erupted and pierced Shin, halting him. As a puppet master, you don't even have puppets anymore? You've fallen to rock bottom, Sasori taunted. Controlling puppets was his domain. Puppets gave precision that manipulating live shinobi couldn't match. Friend, leave him to me, Sai said seriously, wanting to settle this personally. Omoi seized the chance. While Shin was bound, he cut the Edo Tensei Sasori's chakra threads, stopping his control. Kankuro's puppet pressed an attack to try to seal the Edo Tensei as well. Iron sand spikes slammed into Kankuro's puppet. Sasori raised a hand. As payment for my help, don't interfere with our fight, and return that puppet to him for now. It's too boring to defeat a puppet master without puppets. Kankuro hesitated. His face twitched. He respected Sasori's skill, but didn't want to fight over a single puppet. Sasori added lightly, that puppet of yours? In my eyes, it's a puppet only used by poor country puppet masters. I won't steal it. That assurance was strange and slightly insulting, but practical. Kankuro withdrew his chakra threads. The newcomer had just helped seal Deidara. He was clearly a teammate at the moment. He also had more than one puppet. There were others to keep fighting. Sasori tossed the puppet at the Edo Tensei Sasori, who expressionlessly shot out chakra threads and caught the little human puppet with exacting precision. Nobody present knew exactly who the newcomer was, but he would be taught a lesson for calling Sasori's creations rural toys. Scroll. Blazing hell. Edo Sasori moved all 10 fingers, extending palms that concealed flamethrower pipes. He spurted high-temperature flames from the puppet. Water release. Great waterfall technique, Sasori responded calmly, manipulating his puppet's hands. A water scroll unrolled, gushing a torrent that extinguished the flames and swept Edo Sasori and his puppet back. Edo Sasori quickly recovered and closed the distance, using his familiarity with magnet release and excellent puppet control to dodge incoming attacks. He intended to use spiral blades as a feint, and a pointed steel cable concealed in the puppet's body to strike the real blow. Sasori's fingers flicked, and holes opened in his puppet's palms. He activated wind chakra, and 2 azure blades of light extended from the hands. Swish! Those blades flashed, slicing through the spiral blades and severing the pointed cable that had shot out. Edo Sasori stared in surprise. What is this? Shinobi sect technology, Sasori said with a faint smile. The technique itself wasn't exceptional, just good chakra-embedded weapons fitted to puppets. But Sasori believed true breakthroughs would come when chakra weapons could be used by ordinary people. After that assessment, Sasori pressed the advantage, quickly overwhelming Edo Sasori and reclaiming the human puppet, then returning it to Kankuro. Who exactly are you? Edo Sasori asked at last, breathless. Fighting him felt like fighting himself. Many habits and methods were identical. I am Sasori, the newcomer replied calmly. Edo Sasori frowned. Ed. Are you a ninja Orochimaru created from my genes? I should have killed him a long time ago. Sasori snorted. Do you think that Orochimaru could do that? Indeed, Edo Sasori said after a beat. He could not imagine Orochimaru having that power normally. You could think of me as a different outcome of yourself. 2 identical trees planted in different places will still grow different because of the environment, Sasori explained. He had noticed the Edo Sasori's puppet skill was not weaker than his, maybe even a bit stronger, but his puppets themselves were far less advanced. That made sense. Different world, different technology. Tell me about your life, Sasori said, curious how the Edo Tensei Sasori had ended up on this stage, killed, then summoned and controlled. You don't have to start that early, Edo Sasori said. Sasori listened as the story unfolded. Kabuto tried to seize control of Edo Sasori mid-conversation, but every attempt failed. The Edo Tensei was being held steady by Sasori's iron sand magnetization, so Kabuto shifted his focus to other reanimated ninja he could manipulate. As they talked, their histories matched up until a certain point. After defecting, their paths diverged. Sasori had taken part in the youth martial arts tournament, been captured by Naruto, and ended up working for the Shinobi sect. Edo Sasori had never encountered the Shinobi sect, no tournament, no Shinobi sect in his world, and instead wandered until Akatsuki found him. Without the Shinobi sect, Sasori mused inwardly, my grandmother probably would have killed me. Edo Sasori listened in stunned silence as Sasori recounted events that seemed ripped from another life. Nagato and Konan existed there too, but the organizations and allegiances were different. Sasori told how he had fought Chiyo for the Shinobi sect and not died. In that other life, both grandparent and grandchild had survived. Edo Sasori's face fell. "Did I make the wrong choice?" he muttered. His counterpart's life looked better in many ways. "Another world? How is that possible?" Kankuro and others muttered. Even Kabuto, who'd been juggling multiple reanimations, slipped up for a moment at the revelation. If it weren't for the obvious physical presence of the Edo Tensei body, Kabuto might have believed Sasori was a clone. "How long do you intend to be controlled by others?" "You're me, after all," Sasori said bluntly, cutting through Edo Sasori's thoughts. He didn't want Nagato and company to see this version of himself, a puppet master who had been reduced to a controlled puppet. If these Edo ninja could release themselves, then so could their controller. Kankuro added quietly, "If a puppet master is controlled, it's like losing one's soul." He respected Edo Sasori's skill and couldn't bear to see him so diminished. Edo Sasori's expression softened into a small smile. He was Sasori of the Red Sand, the strongest puppet master. He controlled others, he would not be controlled. His interior shifted, resolve hardening. White light began to spread over his body and cracks formed across him. "I have some things at my base in the Land of Rivers. If you're interested, go check them out." Then Edo Sasori's form dissolved, leaving only the corpse that had been used for the Edo Tensei. Sasori watched the disappearance and thought, "I'll take a look after the war." Edo Sasori was older. Whatever research he'd left behind in the Land of Rivers might be useful. And besides, calling his puppets country toys had only been to tease Kankuro. Edo Sasori's puppets weren't worthless. "Kankuro? We're launching the surprise attack. Do you want to come?" Kankuro asked tentatively. He still didn't know what to make of this Sasori, or whether the otherworld explanation was real. But it was the Fourth Shinobi World War, and Sasori was an extraordinarily capable puppet master. Having him along would be a huge boon. "I didn't come alone. I have teammates, and I need to meet up with them first," Sasori said, shaking his head. Kankuro blinked. "Who are they? Where are they?" "I can contact headquarters, the Allied Shinobi Forces number 80,000. It'd be faster than you searching on your own." Sasori's eyes were steady as he listed names that made Kankuro's grip on his chakra threads tighten. Nagato, Kakuzu, Uchiha Obito. Chapter 761. He is Uchiha Madara. There's Nagato, Kakuzu, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Kakashi Hatake, Metkai, Uchiha Shisui, Uchiha Obito, Rin Nohara. Sasori recited the list of his teammates without hurry. When Kankuro heard the first three names, he nearly lost his composure. Was the Akatsuki having a reunion? Why were they all villains? At Jiraiya's name, his expression lightened a little. Finally, someone respectable. If those people really exist, then Sasori might not be lying. Maybe there really is another world. Kankuro grew serious. He recognized half the names Sasori listed. Many were famous dead, Nagato only recently among them. When Sasori added, "and Mu Yue, our leader," he spoke with a hint of respect. Sasori had admired Mu Yue before, and after learning about the Edo Tensei Sasori's past, his admiration had only deepened. "Leader? Is Mu Yue your captain?" Kankuro asked. "He's the leader of our world," Sasori answered simply. Kankuro nodded thoughtfully. Mu Yue sounded like the commander of the Allied Shinobi forces. He had his men relay all the intelligence to the command center. The report shocked everyone there. Disbelief ruled. A living Sasori suddenly appears and helps the assault unit defeat their attackers, and he claims to be a ninja from another world? Could it be a deception intended to interfere with our tactics? The fourth Raikage slammed his fist on the table, furious. He said his teammates are Nagato, Kakuzu, and Jiraiya. Do these people even look like they'd be on the same team? Tsunade stared in bewilderment at the familiar name. "Ao, scout the assault unit's chakra." Narashikaku thought for a beat and gave Ao orders. Ao's sensing confirmed it. The enemy chakra had disappeared, matching reports that the seals had been completed. The battlefield reports were undeniable, but the intelligence itself sounded impossible. "Still, we can't simply ignore this," Onoki said after a moment. "Kakashi's third unit is the closest to that assault unit. Tell Sasori we'll help him find his teammates, cancel the assault unit's mission, and have them return to assist the third unit. That way we protect this visitor from another world and keep him under surveillance. It could be a trick from Uchiha Madara." "That's the safest course," Narashikaku agreed. Since Sasori and Kakashi were teammates in another world, the Kakashi of this world meeting Sasori would be prudent. The fourth Raikage nodded. Sasori's story sounded implausible, but he had helped the assault unit, so they couldn't be heavy-handed. Before anyone could relax, 2 more reports came in. Gaara's 4th unit had encountered 4 Edo Tensei Kage, and Darui's 1st unit had run into a large force of white Zetsu and Edo Tensei ninjas, including well-known powerful figures like the Gold and Silver Brothers. The command center adjusted tactics, ordering the 4th unit to withdraw temporarily and sending reinforcements to the 1st unit. The Tsuchikage left to personally aid the 4th unit. 1st unit battlefield. It's the Gold and Silver Brothers. Those 2 killed the 2nd Hokage and the 2nd Raikage, someone cried. It's Kakuzu of Akatsuki, Asuma Sarutobi and Hyuga Hizashi, Konoha Jonin. The allied shinobi forces peered at the attackers coming from the sea and began naming the famous faces among them. The Gold and Silver Brothers had a dreadful reputation. Many in the Kumo contingent bled cold at the thought. They were the kind of killers who ambushed and murdered Kage, ruthless and capable. Jiraiya, disoriented for a moment, took in his surroundings. Soldiers in many village uniforms behind him, countless white Zetsu before him. This place. Does Roran even have an ocean? He muttered. Orochimaru glanced out over the water. Roran's a desert country. Perhaps this is the small fluctuation Mu Yue warned us about. Kakuzu scanned the field. Before their crossing, Mu Yue had told them to expect possible minor disturbances during the transition. Don't panic, protect yourselves, and meet up with teammates. Some Konoha shinobi on the 1st unit spotted the 3 figures who'd just appeared. Their hearts sank. Gold and Silver Brothers, plus Orochimaru and Jiraiya. What rotten luck. Jiraiya and Orochimaru were Sannin on par with the 5th Hokage. Kabuto, watching the battle unfold through Edo Tensei's perspective, was stunned. He could tell the 3 newcomers were alive. Sasori's claim that another world existed was now confirmed. Kabuto breathed deeply and calmed himself. With Uchiha Madara as his trump card, Orochimaru and Nagato were insignificant. All the strong shinobi who could be resurrected by Edo Tensei had been summoned by him. Even if this Orochimaru knew Edo Tensei as well, he couldn't match Kabuto's army. He felt invincible. Wait, why are there 2 Kakuzus? Someone exclaimed. The figure standing near Jiraiya and Orochimaru did look like Kakuzu, but his clothing and bearing were different. And they didn't seem to be Edo Tensei. Look at their eyes. The 1st unit's scouts watched closely and soon reported back. Jiraiya and the others were not Edo Tensei. The command center, stunned and relieved at the same time, quickly radioed orders. Do not engage Jiraiya and the others. Consider them allies come to help the alliance. With many Konoha shinobi in the allied forces and the white Zetsu clearly hostile, Jiraiya and his companions quickly sorted friend from foe. It's been a while since we deployed together, Orochimaru. Want to see who can take down more enemies? Loser buys yakiniku when we get back, Jiraiya said, stretching and grinning at the approaching wave of white Zetsu. Be ready to treat me, Orochimaru replied with a sneer. After following Mu Yue for years, he'd improved a lot. Summoning technique. Jiraiya slapped his palm on the ground and summoned a great puff of smoke. Gamabunta, the giant red toad, loomed before him, blinking as if he'd been nudged awake mid-nap. What's going on? This is a battlefield, not nap time. Use toad oil now. Jiraiya didn't explain. He leapt onto Gamabunta's head and told him to produce chakra for ninjutsu. Gamabunta, realizing they were under attack, converted chakra into a massive torrent of toad oil and spat it out in a blast. Toad oil bullet, Gamabunta roared. Jiraiya immediately exhaled a massive wall of flame, turning the oil into a sweeping inferno that cleared hundreds of meters of white Zetsu in an instant. Summoning contracts work in this world too, Orochimaru observed, surprised. Orochimaru tried to summon Manda, but smoke burst and nothing came. Manda may not exist in this world, or he could be dead, he muttered. That explained his earlier choice not to bring the giant snake. With his current power, Manda would have been of little use anyway. He condensed natural energy and entered a breathing-based sage state. Wind-breathing sage mode, Orochimaru declared, draining breath and centering himself. A cyan glow surrounded him. Sage art, vacuum great dragon. He unleashed a furious torrent of wind release. The air itself cut through the white Zetsu and Edo Tensei ninjas like knives. The winds coalesced into a massive white dragon that smashed across the shore, scattering allied shinobi and tearing even Edo Tensei Jonin into pieces. Hundreds of white Zetsu were shredded into fragments in an instant. "You actually mastered sage art," Jiraiya said in surprise. "Is this the breathing stream sage art Mu Yue mentioned?" The two sages' combined assault silenced the allied forces. Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and the sealing unit could hold the shoreline alone. Kakuzu didn't join their friendly rivalry. He barreled over at the Edo Tensei Kakuzu, who was trying to harvest a living shinobi's hearts. "You took my form, so I'll make you regret it," he snarled. The Edo Tensei Kakuzu, annoyed at this bright, energetic version of himself, activated Earth Grudge Fear. Black threads burst from his body, snaking forward. Kakuzu calmly answered with his own Earth Grudge Fear. More black threads shot out and quickly overwhelmed the Edo Tensei Kakuzu, binding him. The imposter's eyes widened. "How could this be?" Edo Tensei Kakuzu muttered. "That technique should only be known to him." Kakuzu grinned and reminded him, "You don't have a single heart left now. You can't break free from my restraints." Kakuzu had stopped the Edo Tensei Kakuzu from stealing hearts for a reason. Without a heart, Edo Tensei Kakuzu couldn't unleash his full power. The imposter's face darkened. "Where did you learn Earth Grudge Fear?" "As I did. Stole it from the village," Kakuzu answered matter-of-factly. Kakuzu tossed a few masks to help the allied forces mop up enemies, then sat and spoke with the captured Edo Tensei Kakuzu. The imposter spat that he'd destroyed the data after stealing Earth Grudge Fear. Kakuzu just smiled. "You still don't understand. I'm not disguised as you. I'm another you. The you from another world." As Kakuzu rattled off intimate details, where he hid money as a younger man, a crush at 13, missteps at 16, the Edo Tensei Kakuzu's face turned pale. No one else should know those things. The imposter's shock confirmed it. "If we're both Kakuzu, why help these people?" "Shouldn't you help me?" the Edo Tensei Kakuzu asked in a low voice. "Those people aren't worth trusting. Do you want to be betrayed again?" Kakuzu chuckled. "Don't bother with petty tricks. It will only lower my opinion of you. I was luckier than you. I met someone who pulled me out of my confusion." The confession stung Edo Tensei Kakuzu. Kakuzu explained how he met Mu Yue. He had taken Mu Yue's bounty to cash in on the reward, but Mu Yue had bested him, killing 4 of his hearts with ease. Mu Yue's magnanimity and the way he took Kakuzu along afterward changed him. That journey across the land of rain had left Kakuzu nostalgic. At first, he mocked Mu Yue and his companions as naive idealists. In the end, he became one of them, and a key member. "That kind of world can't exist," the imposter scoffed. "At least we achieved peace and united the ninja world," Kakuzu replied gently. The path wasn't finished, but they had made real progress. The younger generation would carry the rest forward. "Edo Tensei," Kakuzu grew quiet, then asked, "Has Mu Yue come? I want to see him." "You're lucky. He's here, but I don't know where he is right now." Kakuzu produced a sealing scroll and tossed it to the imposter. Edo Tensei Kakuzu didn't resist and allowed himself to be sealed. Meanwhile, with Jiraiya and Orochimaru working together, the White Zetsu horde was quickly annihilated, and most of the Edo Tensei ninjas sealed. A few who'd already made landfall remained for the allied shinobi forces to handle. With such a large force, a handful of remaining Edo Tensei weren't a real threat. Boom! Suddenly a terrifying aura shook the field. The Gold and Silver brothers unleashed Tailed Beast Chakra, their bodies enveloped in a dark red 9-tailed chakra, transforming into a 6-tailed bristling monster. "You dare seal us! You seek death!" they thundered. With Edo Tensei's immortality and near-infinite chakra plus their own Tailed Beast Chakra, Gold and Silver brothers refused to accept defeat. Orochimaru and the others had finished clearing the fodder, and Darui called out, "Sage mode!" Jiraiya had already sensed Gold and Silver brothers' strength and was prepared. He drew on natural energy, synthesized Sage Chakra, and stepped into Sage mode. Sage Art, Hair Needle Senbon. Jiraiya fired a wide, fast Sage technique to repel Gold and Silver brothers and prevent them from ripping through the allied forces. He then summoned a massive Gamabunta to intercept the retreat. Orochimaru, channeling the breathing stream Sage Art's chakra mode, leapt forward and blasted a rain of razor wind blades. The two sages working together left Gold and Silver brothers helpless. Less than a minute later, the allied shinobi forces sealed them. Shikamaru, having just finished sealing Edo Tensei Asuma, watched and exhaled a long breath. Finally over, he muttered. The allied forces relaxed as enemies fell or were sealed. Roar! Just when everyone thought the fight was done, a huge annoyed monster with bark-like withered wood skin strode onto the field. It swung its massive limbs and sent dozens of shinobi flying. Akimichi Choza and Choji used multi-size technique together, but couldn't stop it. Kitsuchi's earth release wall only held it briefly. As the allied shinobi forces focused on this outer path-like demonic statue, a white-masked figure appeared beside the sealed gold and silver brothers and picked them up. "Hidden shadow snake hands!" shouted Orochimaru, the first to notice the masked man. Having dropped out of sage mode, he flung a large snake at the figure. The snake passed right through the masked man and struck a cloud ninja behind him. "Orochimaru and Jiraiya, how are they alive again?" The white masked man frowned, but he didn't linger. He activated a space-time jutsu and teleported away, intent on continuing whatever plan he'd come to execute. He wouldn't be stopped by the resurrection of Konoha's past greats. He had much grander ambitions, to be the second sage with the Six Paths power and build a world without war. "Do you know that masked man?" Orochimaru asked Darui and the others. "Of course," Darui answered in a rare serious tone. "He's Uchiha Madara, the one who started the Fourth Shinobi World War." Uchiha Madara. Orochimaru's eyes narrowed as he considered the question. How can his ability be so similar to that brat Obito's? Kakuzu, who had just walked over, squinted in surprise. Obito's Kamui intangibility was no secret in the shinobi world. He'd used it openly many times. "There are three possibilities," Kakuzu said. 1. This world's Uchiha Madara took Obito's eyes. 2. Uchiha Madara's Mangekyou Sharingan power is the same as Obito's. 3. This Uchiha Madara isn't the Madara we think he is. Orochimaru considered that. The Mangekyou ability of Uchiha Madara in this world was still unknown. Mu Yue had killed a Madara who only had a 3-tomoe Sharingan, never shown the Mangekyou. "The third possibility might be the most likely," he murmured. "If he isn't the Madara we know, that would explain a lot." Jiraiya stroked his chin. Thanks to the second Hokage, Konoha had a great deal of intelligence on Uchiha Madara, and Mu Yue had also killed one once. Everyone assumed the Madara they knew about was the same one Naruto and the others had mentioned. Naruto had told them that Mu Yue had killed Madara. From Naruto's perspective, there was no need to ask the local shinobi for more information. No one expected that the Madara being discussed might actually be a different person. "Either way," Jiraiya said, trying to dismiss the mystery, "Mu Yue can handle him." Kakuzu agreed. Intelligence mattered less than the fact that he was an enemy. Once Mu Yue took action, it would be handled. Orochimaru nodded. Speculation could wait. Knowing the foe and preparing to fight was enough. Boom! The Outer Path demonic statue rampaged across the battlefield, its colossal form crushing Earth with every step and forcing Orochimaru and the others to fall back. Taking advantage of the chaos, White Mask Obito slipped away. He hadn't come to create trouble for the allied shinobi forces. He'd come to secure an insurance policy. If he couldn't capture Naruto, he could still use the Nine Tails chakra from the Gold and Silver brothers to revive the Ten Tails. "Just one more day, Rin. Tomorrow I'll end this rotten world, and you'll be reborn in a beautiful new one." White Mask Obito imagined himself meeting Rin again and felt his conviction harden. After leaving, and to avoid any accidents, he immediately resummoned the Outer Path demonic statue. It's gone. The allied shinobi forces were momentarily baffled to see the statue vanish, unsure what Uchiha Madara was trying to accomplish. They still reported the encounter to headquarters. Headquarters, in turn, relayed 2 bits of intelligence. Sasori was with the surprise attack unit heading toward the 3rd unit, and Metkai had appeared on the battlefield where the 3rd unit was engaged. Keketsu's explosion release Hunter, Hodzuki Mangetsu, Suikazan Fuguki, so many opponents. Kakashi, having just finished off Zabuza, tried to catch his breath and scan the battlefield. As commander of the 3rd unit and a copy ninja who duplicated 1,000 jutsu, he felt a rare surge of fighting spirit. "Youth burns, Kakashi," a voice called, familiar, yet somehow off. He turned instinctively. "Might Guy?" Before him stood Might Guy, looking like he'd reverted to his 18-year-old self. Kakashi was confused. What on earth is going on? Yo, Kakashi, you seem more mature now. Maybe what teacher Mu Yue said was right, a small fluctuation, the younger guy said with mock solemnity. Kakashi's thoughts snapped. He'd heard about Mu Yue from Naruto and recognized that this might guy wasn't the guy from their world. There was no Habsheng Mu Yue in their ninja world, so this was likely a crossover. Around them, another might guy, older, adult, was fighting Jinin Akebino, wielder of the Kubikirabocho. Two guys. Did the might guy from another world cross over here by triggering his world's dragon vein? Kakashi realized. Teacher Kai, do you have a child? Lee, in the middle of battle, stared wide-eyed. The youthful guy looked so much like the adult one that Lee couldn't help but blurt the question. What child? The adult guy replied, baffled. His life had been nothing but training, no girlfriends, no children. Maybe some evil ninja stole my genes and made clones, he joked, then shook his head. Don't guess wildly. I'll explain after the battle. Protect this young man who looks like me. Parallel world explanations weren't quick or simple. Kakashi simply said, we'll deal with it later. Naruto got help from Mu Yue's people in his world. If this might guy came over, we should take care of him. The younger guy, interpreting that the older guy was the Kakashi from Naruto's world, balked at being protected. Even if you're the big Kakashi, I don't need anyone protecting me. The Azure Beast of Konoha protects himself. Kakashi was speechless at the odd title. Might Guy's enthusiasm made everything strange, but that was to be expected. Let me see who's left. Suikazan Fuguki, Kuriare Kushimaru, Kakashi listed, noting familiar names among the foes. Might Guy recognized several as members of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist, enemies he remembered defeating in the Third Shinobi World War. They weren't all present, and Suikazan Fuguki didn't even have his sword. They're old foes. Let's see how much I've improved in 7 years. He stretched and readied himself. At 10, he'd fought the 7 swordsmen with Kakashi and the others. 7 years later, he felt confident. 8 gates. Gate of view, open. Might Guy burst open the 6th gate. Chakra surged out, his aura flaring green as he entered rock-breathing chakra mode, concentrated breathing and chakra dramatically enhancing his body. Don't be reckless. They're the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist, Kakashi warned, worried. Might Guy ignored him, launching forward. A brat dares charge me. How arrogant. Suikazan condensed chakra into his fist to strike back, but Might Guy accelerated in a blink and disappeared from view. You're arrogant, not me, you loser. Leaf Great Whirlwind. Using several bursts of Soru, Might Guy reappeared behind Suikazan and delivered a crushing whirlwind kick. The 6th gate, combined with rock breathing, made the blow devastating. Suikazan's body burst into pieces, and he was flung hard into the ground. Even the ceiling squad hesitated, stunned by the young guy's strength. Kakashi's eyes narrowed. The gap between the two guys' powers was astonishing. The young guy's strength now rivaled an adult Might Guy opening the 7th gate. But Kakashi, a hardened copy ninja, seized the fallen Suikazan and allowed the ceiling team to finish their work. He's that strong? Lee's chest hammered. As a Taijutsu specialist, he felt the bite of that kick, clearly greater than his own strength. So youthful to pack such power at the 6th gate. The adult Might Guy gave a one-finger thumbs up. Munashi Jinpachi, you're up! Might Guy pressed on, charging the nearest swordsman. I'm not the powerless one without a sword, Munashi Jinpachi warned, swinging his explosion blade Shibuki. He detonated a barrage of explosive tags in an instant. As an Edo Tensei, he had no fear of self-injury and could unleash the full destructive power of his weapon without restraint. The distance is too close, Kakashi muttered. He'd wanted to use Kamui to help, but at such close quarters it could injure the ally. The explosion engulfed both fighters in a cloud of black smoke. Another dull thud, and Munashi Jinpachi, battered and flying back, slammed into the ground, his body damaged, but he regenerated quickly. When the smoke cleared, Might Guy stood unharmed. He had covered himself with Armament Haki's secret technique at the moment of detonation, and with Rock Breathing's defense, he shrugged off the blast. Noon Leopard. He didn't stop. He charged Kuriare Kushimaru like a hunting beast, and with raw taijutsu power, Kuriare had no defense. He was sent down heavily wounded. Such terrifying taijutsu! Who is he? The allied shinobi whispered, stunned that one young man had taken down 3 swordsmen in quick succession. Kabuto watched through his Edo Tensei puppets and frowned. Another interloper from another world has appeared. I'll have to redeploy. He thought about capturing one of the outsiders. Sasori might be the easiest target. His surprise attack unit was vulnerable. Kabuto dispatched more Edo Tensei to the 3rd Division and mobilized veterans like Chiyo and Hanzo to intercept Sasori. Edo Tensei! Explosion release. Hunter clapped his hands on the ground and a coffin rose. A slight, frail old man climbed out. Teacher Chen! Several Konoha shinobi recognized him, the one once called Konoha's strongest taijutsu master. Someone still remembers me. My reputation after death isn't bad, Teacher Chen said cheerfully, but his expression changed as he sensed something controlling him. Stay away. Someone is controlling my body. Spread out. Let me handle Teacher Chen, Kakashi shouted after sealing Jinin Akabino. He knew Teacher Chen's taijutsu was lethal at range. If people didn't clear the area, many would be hurt. Teacher Kai, I'll handle this, Lee volunteered. He'd long wanted to learn the Leaf Dragon God from Teacher Chen. Chen had refused, fearing Lee's lack of ninjutsu would be deadly in war. Lee had trained to prove himself and believed his taijutsu alone could make him a great ninja. He planned to learn the Leaf Dragon God and refused to give up. Teacher Chen, is that true? Metkai stepped forward. Of course it's true. People without ninjutsu shouldn't be ninjas, Teacher Chen said bluntly, repeating his old advice. Lee's face fell. I understand, then let's communicate by taijutsu, Metkai said, taking a fighting stance. Kakashi urged, close your 8 gates and rest. Let us handle this. War isn't about one fight, it's long-term. Metkai shook his head. With rock breathing, he recovered faster than ordinary people, and he hadn't opened the 7th gate. His expenditure was still manageable. Spread out, now! Teacher Chen warned as his body began to gather chakra uncontrollably. He kicked in a blur and issued a whirlwind kick with shocking speed. Leaf Dragon God! In seconds, a 20-meter dragon-shaped tornado appeared. Its cutting power shredded nearby trees into stakes and sent sand and wood chips scattering. The allied shinobi squinted, grateful for the warning. Otherwise, the attack would have caused massive casualties. This feels weaker than I expected, Metkai thought, watching. Still, impressive for Teacher Chen, Kakashi acknowledged. Such taijutsu was not something he could block directly without opening his gates. Lee's face hardened. This time, I must decipher the Leaf Dragon God. Metkai roared and mirrored Chen's movement. Immediately, he formed a giant blue dragon, 1.5 times larger than Chen's. The 2 dragons collided with a blinding white explosion like 2 stars crashing, creating massive concentric shockwaves that forced the allied forces to stabilize with chakra. After 20 seconds, the smaller rock blue dragon shattered. Teacher Chen was thrown backward, surprised and broken apart. Everyone stared. Teacher Chen's technique was powerful, but Metkai's version was terrifyingly superior. How do you know my Leaf Dragon God? I never taught it to anyone. Teacher Chen asked in disbelief. He had once had a disciple, Takuya Kawai, who had no ninjutsu talent but was training in taijutsu. Takuya was killed during the 3rd Shinobi World War before Chen could pass the technique to him. One reason Chen had told Lee to give up ninjutsu. The 3 arts, ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, were essential, being completely deficient in any left fatal weaknesses. You taught it to me, Metkai replied. I'm not from this world. In my world, you are my teacher, and you taught me the Leaf Dragon God. Really? Chen was surprised to hear that he had a disciple in another world. Metkai explained that although he wasn't completely without ninjutsu talent, he was close. Taijutsu was his focus. It had taken years to master the armament hockey secret technique with Mu Yue's guidance, and somehow he'd defeated powerful opponents even before mastering it. Chen was silent a moment, then asked, Is he still alive in your world? You mean senior brother Takuya? He's doing well. He's proficient with the Leaf Dragon God and has become a special jonin, Metkai said. Chen, regaining some cheer as Kabuto tried to control him again, smiled and then his body began to crack and whiten. What's your name? He asked. Metkai, the man who strives to become the strongest in the world, Metkai replied with a thumbs up. If it's you, you might truly succeed, Chen said. I took on a good disciple. Please deliver a message to Takuya. Be careful on missions. And Lee, sorry for what I said before. Keep chasing your ideals. With that, Teacher Chen dissipated, leaving only the Edo Tensei shell behind. I will, Metkai said solemnly, bowing to where Chen had been. Even if this Chen was a summoned form, he was still a respected elder. Li likewise bowed, now fully determined. Although he'd failed to decode the leaf dragon god, he had earned Chen's respect, and that was victory enough. There were still enemies on the field. Li suppressed his curiosity about the odd young teacher Kai and rejoined the fight against the Edo Tensei. Metkai closed his gates and exited rock breathing, rested briefly, then kept fighting. Using focused rock breathing and refined taijutsu, he helped the allied shinobi forces seal many Edo Tensei without opening his gates. The command center sent a message asking if any ninjas from other worlds had appeared. Kakashi realized that Metkai wasn't the only one. There were several crossovers. The list even included another Kakashi Hatake, though his location was unknown. Meeting another version of himself felt surreal. He sighed softly, thinking of other lives and other versions of the people he cared about. Obito, Rin, he murmured. What kind of ninja am I in another world? Kankuro asked Sasori as they made their way to the third unit. With 4 other ninja from a parallel world already discovered, there was no longer any doubt that parallel worlds existed. Kankuro, huh? That name doesn't ring a bell. He's probably still in the academy, Sasori said after a moment's thought. The timelines between their worlds weren't identical. Uzumaki Naruto's world was about 10 years ahead. Kankuro understood immediately and couldn't hide a flash of regret. Whoosh, whoosh. A sudden rush of wind and a spray of white bone projectiles shot towards Sasori and the surprise attack unit. Sasori dodged, withdrew a puppet from a scroll, and 3 figures emerged from the dense trees. One wore a breathing mask and a rain-style combat uniform, expressionless. One was short, slightly hunched, his face registering shock. The last had white hair, a composed expression, and 2 red dots between his brows. Chiyo, Hanzo, and Kimimaro. Kankuro's face hardened. Chiyo needed no introduction. She was a figure from his own village. Hanzo was a legendary rain ninja, and Kimimaro had once nearly defeated Gaara. Before they could react, a huge salamander burst from the ground, spewing a cloud of purple poisonous mist. Damn! Salamander venom! Scatter! Kankuro shouted. Somehow Hanzo had already summoned his summon and hidden it underground. But it was too late. The mist spread faster than they could move. Members of the surprise attack unit began collapsing, one after another, including Kankuro. Catch! Sasori's voice cut through. A small pill flew to Kankuro. He snatched it, swallowed, and the numbness that had gripped him vanished. He neutralized my poison so fast? Hanzo sounded surprised. After all, he's my grandson, the old man with the respirator, Chiyo said with a hint of pride. She didn't know how Sasori had returned to life, but whoever stood before her was not an Edo Tensei. He was alive. You puppet hag, don't boast. You're dead, like me, Hanzo replied coldly. Kankuro, he's not the Sasori you know. He's Sasori from another world, Kankuro said, releasing his puppet and trying to correct Chiyo's assumption. Chiyo frowned in confusion and, under Kabuto's control, launched chakra threads at the remaining surprise attack unit. Hanzo swung his scythe and charged. Kimimaro sprouted massive bone spikes from his body and assaulted them. Kankuro felt immense pressure and couldn't explain further. I'm not the Sasori you knew. I'm not your grandson, the other Sasori said, as he maneuvered his puppets to intercept the attacks. Chiyo was stunned. This was not what she expected. Kabuto's target is just Sasori, he thought. Kabuto worried that a prolonged fight would alert the allied shinobi forces, so he ordered Kimimaro to go all out and activated his cursed seal level 2. In that state, Kimimaro's skin darkened, black markings crawled across his face, and a tail sprouted. His chakra flared as he used Dead Bone Pulse, summoning a storm of bone spikes aimed at Sasori and the puppet holding Deidara. Kabuto's goal was clear. Capture Sasori for the secret of the parallel world and seize Deidara because he would willingly fight without needing control. The lives of Kankuro and the rest were irrelevant. So it's Dead Bone Pulse, Sasori observed. His fingers flew. He controlled Iron Sand to launch himself and the puppet containing Deidara into the air. Magnet Release, Iron Sand, Great Funeral. Calmly, Sasori ordered the puppet to unleash its ultimate magnet release. A cascading wall of iron sand buried and sealed Kimimaro. Reinforcements arrived soon after, the 5th unit led by Mifune. The Otherworld ninja were too unusual, and Sasori had been put with a small surprise unit, so Nara Shikaku had suspected Kabuto might try something, and had sent part of the 5th unit to rendezvous. With the 5th unit's help, sealing Kimimaro was straightforward. Hanzo, clashing with Mifune, suddenly broke free from Edo Tensei control by sheer force of will. His soul rose, and as it left, he saw visions. A rain country far more prosperous and peaceful than he remembered, a life without war. If this is a dream, then it's a beautiful one, Hanzo whispered, laughing at himself, then slipped away. With Kimimaro sealed and Hanzo freed, only Chiyo remained. Edo Tensei Chiyo was the weakest of the three. Her strength had relied on puppets, which she didn't have while reanimated. Sasori bound her in iron sand and she asked, voice soft, Sasori, in your world, am I doing all right? She spoke as if asking about herself, but she really wanted to know how Sasori's world's Chiyo fared. She's doing well. She's the 5th Kazekage of Tsunagakure now, Sasori answered with a faint smile. Hearing that, Chiyo's face truly relaxed. That old woman still picked me as Kazekage at my age, she muttered, and then her body paled as she began to dissipate. If her counterpart had the will to be Kazekage, their relationship couldn't have been that bad. What about Rasa and Gaara? She asked before vanishing. Rasa lives in Six Path City. People bring him meals. Gaara is still a little child, Sasori replied. Chiyo faded before anyone could answer further. Kankuro's expression was complicated. Rasa being cared for sounded like imprisonment. He didn't press details and let the unit move on. By the time Sasori reached the 3rd unit, they had just finished a battle and were resting. Kakashi Hatake, seeing Sasori, reflexively reached into his pouch, then realized this wasn't the rogue Sasori from their world. Allied shinobi were with him. Hello, Kakashi. Is something wrong with your eye? Want me to modify it? Free of charge, Sasori said, not heading straight for Metkai, but stopping by Kakashi, eyes curious at the covered Sharingan beneath Kakashi's forehead protector. Thanks, but no. There's nothing wrong, Kakashi said, sliding his protector aside to reveal the Sharingan, and declined politely. He wondered whether the otherworld version of him and Sasori had been close. Sasori's casual offer felt more familiar than one would expect from a stranger. It's a Sharingan, Sasori noted, then greeted Metkai and settled to rest. Since crossing over, he'd been fighting and traveling constantly. He needed to recover. Kankuro sat with him, peppering him with questions about the parallel world. Kakashi joined Metkai to learn about world hopping itself. Naruto's accidental arrival had been one thing. Now dozens of ninja had crossed over, which meant someone had the means to move between worlds. Kakashi worried. Mu Yue and his people seemed benevolent, but peace between countries was difficult. Between worlds would be worse. Guy, how did you cross over? Kakashi asked directly. The Metkai of both worlds shared the same blunt personality. Direct questions were best. World hopping? There was a green light, then a purple light, and whoosh, we crossed, Metkai answered earnestly. Kakashi could only sigh. Metgai's explanation was as physical as his personality. Don't burden him with the details. Only leader Mitsuki, Mu Yue, has the power to bring people across worlds, Sasori said with a faint smile. A single person's power? Kakashi's surprise was obvious. The ability to move whole people between worlds. How powerful must Mu Yue be? Still, Kakashi felt some relief. Mu Yue, by Naruto's report, seemed a genuinely good person. Lee interrupted in awe, offering rice balls to Metkai and asking how he trained so much. Metkai laughed off any secret, saying he had a secret training medicine from Mu Yue and had practiced a breathing technique, rock breathing, that made his recovery and endurance exceptional. That's incredible, Lee said, tears of admiration in his eyes. Metgai's emotional sincerity moved him. Kakashi reflected that Mu Yue's aid had clearly helped shape this other world's Metkai into an extraordinary fighter. Yang release-style breathing techniques in their world could both heal and strengthen, and Mu Yue's methods seemed similarly potent. A Konoha shinobi suddenly cried out, "Is that Jiraiya's Ama?" A white-haired figure lay among the resting troops. Jiraiya had died. Any sign of him usually meant Edo Tensei. Orochimaru sneered, and a ripple of alarm ran through the soldiers when they saw the S-rank missing nin Orochimaru and Kakuzu approaching. Everyone, don't panic. These three are with the allied Shinobi forces, not enemies, Kakashi said quickly, calming the men. Once the unit commander spoke, weapons were lowered. Sasori, where did you land when you crossed? Any news of Nagato? Sasori asked Kakuzu. Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and I came over to the seaside, Kakuzu replied. No word on Nagato or the others yet. They may not have reached this world, or they might be far away. Sasori nodded. With no news, it made sense to stay on the battlefield rather than scatter. It seems I did more than just defect in that world, Orochimaru observed, noting the wary looks Konoha Shinobi gave him. Jiraiya joked about Kakashi's covered eye, and Kakashi explained. Someone had transplanted a Sharingan into him, and lacking Uchiha blood, he couldn't deactivate it. The Sharingan drained chakra constantly, which had a cost, but it was a gift from his closest friend, and Kakashi would carry it till the end. At dawn the next morning, an intelligence shinobi arrived breathless at Kakashi's tent. Headquarters has found traces of otherworldly ninja. 5 of them this time. Who are they? Jiraiya asked. They're Nagato, Kakashi Hatake, Uchiha Obito, Uchiha Shisui, and Rin Nohara, the scout reported. The list of familiar names made Kakashi's chest tighten. He had lost Rin and Obito once. Jiraiya shrugged. Mu Yue was the least of their concerns. After all, he dealt defeats to mighty foes before. They're with Naruto and heading to the battlefield, the scout finished. Naruto blinked and found himself dazed. When his vision cleared, the city of towering buildings he'd been in was gone. Only broken tiles and crumbling walls remained. Where are Ero Sennin and Big Brother Mu Yue? He muttered, scanning the ruins. He noticed immediately that the team had been thinned, their numbers cut in half. 6 people are missing, he said. Kakashi Hatake also came to and frowned at the change. This must be what Teacher Mu Yue called a small fluctuation, he analyzed. They may have gone ahead and are already engaged, or they haven't arrived yet. Did only an instant pass? Killer Bee looked around, searching the ruins for anything that might tell the time, but there was nothing. No, someone tell me what happened. Obito stared at everyone, bewildered. He remembered helping an old woman, and then, somehow, he was in ruins, and Kakashi and the others were talking in riddles. Obito, are you all right? Did you hit your head while traveling between worlds? Rin Nohara asked, worried. Travel between worlds? Obito scratched his head, full of question marks. Kakashi snapped at him. You lost your memory? Your name is Obito Hatake, and the person you admire most is your older brother, Kakashi Hatake. Admire my foot, Kakashi, you're trying to fool a dummy, Obito shot back. Kakashi calmed slightly. Seems not too bad, but Rin should still check him just in case. Obito's shadow clone then explained the true problem. This wasn't the original Obito. I'm a shadow clone. When we entered the hidden sand village, the main body saw an old person who needed help. He hurried to meet Naruto and left a shadow clone behind. After helping the old person, I didn't dispel. I wandered the village. If no one needed help, I played. If someone did, I helped. Kakashi thought aloud. The main body traveled, and the clone somehow traveled too. Maybe the dragon vein's power extends throughout the hidden sand village and linked the clone to the main body. Shisui added, a shadow clone shouldn't exist independently, but his body seems to have absorbed some of the dragon vein's chakra. Nagato, sensing it more directly, shook his head. He's slightly affected by the dragon vein. That power is too mysterious. If it can reach between worlds, it could even sustain a shadow clone. We should get to the battlefield. That Naruto urged. He was impatient to fight with his comrades. This war was happening to protect them, and he couldn't stand aside. Everyone agreed. With Obito able to use dual Kamui and the Flying Thunder God technique, escape wouldn't be hard, even if they ran into Madara alone. Mu Yue and the others might arrive with Obito's main body, so they hurried toward the front. Everyone's fighting. Let's go, Naruto said. That night, the White Zetsu began infiltrating the allied shinobi forces, and the battle flared again. Naruto grew more anxious. The Nine Tails inside him pulled him into its consciousness, and they spoke. The Nine Tails had recently conversed with the Nine Tails from Mu Yue's world, so it was a little different now, warmer, but still cautious. It wanted to see Naruto's actions more than hear his words. Even late into the night, Naruto pressed on. Kakashi and the others followed without rest. They were moving at full speed when 2 figures flashed into view ahead. Big Brother! Granny Tsunade! Killer Bee and Naruto blurted in unison. Tsunade eyed Kakashi and the others and realized what they were. When the command center located Naruto, they also noticed Killer Bee with him. "You two go back," the fourth Raikage barked. "I won't let you go to the battlefield." In his view, Madara wanted the tailed beasts. Sending Naruto and Killer Bee out was like sending lambs into a den. Killer Bee pleaded, "Big brother, please clear the way for Naruto." The Raikage glared. "Bee, you have the nerve? I told you to watch Naruto. This is how you watch him? If you two get captured by Madara, this whole world ends. You two are idiots." Nagato stepped forward, voice low. "Not fighting because of danger is throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Since the enemy is Uchiha Madara, why abandon powerful Jinchuriki like Naruto and Bee? This war exists to protect them. If they're captured, everything will be for nothing." The Raikage still refused. If the allied forces were doomed, he would rather kill the Jinchuriki himself and let the tailed beasts die temporarily to slow the enemy. It was a grim calculus. Sacrifice one to buy time for all. Naruto pushed past Nagato. "Let me do it. I'll make Raikage uncle see I can protect myself." He didn't blame the Raikage or Tsunade. They were thinking of the world, but he wouldn't be held back. The fourth Raikage bristled and charged his chakra. Electricity crackled around him as his hair stood on end. "Be careful. This is his full power mode," Killer Bee warned. "Yang release breathing sage mode," someone exclaimed. Naruto didn't hesitate. He released his own power, entering the breathing technique sage mode and pushing it to the extreme. Two blurs, a blue and a yellow, shot forward so fast Rin Nohara barely registered them. The blue figure slammed into a massive rock and was thrown back. The rock split and debris scattered. Tsunade stared, disbelief on her face. She hadn't expected Naruto's speed to surpass the Raikage's full-power lightning armor. "I underestimated you. Go." The Raikage stood down. With Naruto that powerful, combined with the allied forces, if they still got captured, then Madara's strength would truly be beyond imagination, and hiding would be useless. Tsunade said, "You're Nin from another world, right? Your companions are on the battlefield in the third unit." Only then did Kakashi and the others realize Metkai, Jiraiya, and the others had arrived earlier. Mu Yue and Obito's main body were still unaccounted for. Dawn broke as they kept moving. En route, Nara Shikaku contacted Naruto by communication ninjutsu and asked him to use shadow clones to help root out white Zetsu hiding among the ranks. Naruto happily made many clones and sent them to various units. "Uchiha Madara is different from pain," Shikaku warned everyone through the channel. "He wants the whole world. He's a true demon." Obito heard the caution in Shikaku's words and sighed inwardly. The battlefield was vast, with many divisions. Naruto and the group headed to the 3rd Division to rendezvous with Metkai and his team. Along the way, they helped allied shinobi whenever they encountered fights, and they learned just how terrifying Edo Tensei was. Immortal bodies with inexhaustible chakra. Seal them, don't try to kill them. While moving, Nagato suddenly tuned his senses. Far away, the Edo Tensei Nagato, who was supporting Uchiha Itachi, looked surprised. "What is it?" Itachi asked. "It might be interference from Edo Tensei," Edo Tensei Nagato replied. He detected something weird about his own chakra. Facts, Nagato thought, could often be stranger than logic. By the river in the dense forest, Naruto and his group ran into what everyone would later call the old, weak, sick, and disabled duo. Naruto, glowing golden, and a younger version of himself stood nearby, and Edo Tensei Nagato blinked in confusion on seeing them. "Naruto, and me? Shisui!" Itachi's eyes widened. The sight of Shisui made him angry. Kabuto had even Edo Tensei'd Shisui, he thought at first. But looking closer, Shisui's eyes, the way he carried himself, Itachi realized that Shisui was alive, not reanimated. How is Shisui alive, and so young? Shisui, staring at Naruto and the group, whispered a warning. "Everyone, be careful. These two are probably Kabuto's trump cards." Kabuto had Edo Tensei Nagato, whose Rinnegan and Uzumaki body made for an invincible combination, and Itachi, who could kill him, take his Mangekyo, and who had slaughtered the Uchiha clan, was no weakling either. "I have something to ask you," Itachi said flatly. Naruto, thinking of Madara's scheming, had questions of his own. But before conversation could go further, Kabuto wasn't about to let Naruto and company walk off. He still hoped to capture Naruto and Killer Bee to bargain with Madara. Itachi reacted first. Fire release, great fireball technique. Shisui, watching him, answered with the same technique. Two gigantic fireballs slammed into each other, scattering flames. With his flame-breathing enhancement, Shisui's fireball not only blocked Itachi's but had enough left over to press forward. Itachi leaped and dodged, flurried shuriken flying. Shisui countered with perfectly timed shuriken blocks. Itachi, what's your situation now? How did you revive? Itachi rushed forward, confused. What, you scared, clan killer? Shisui taunted. He activated his Sharingan, grabbed Itachi's swinging arm, and slammed him into the ground, carving a small crater. Itachi cut off his own words. The sight of Shisui alive and resentful twisted something in him. Shisui had entrusted his eyes to Itachi to protect the village and the clan's honor, yet the Uchiha had been reduced to one boy, Sasuke. Itachi's face fell. I'm sorry. I've disappointed you, he murmured, unable to meet Shisui's eyes. Being rejected like this stung more than death ever would. Seeing this expression on Itachi shocked Edo Tensei Nagato. He had never seen Itachi look so lost, like a child scolded by a parent. Then, Edo Tensei Nagato lashed out in fury, unleashing a terrible gravitational pull. Naruto was flung uncontrollably toward Edo Tensei Nagato. Living Nagato's chakra burst, and he raised his hand to repel the attack. Shinra Tensei, he cried, blasting Edo Tensei Nagato away and saving Naruto. Kakashi, fall back a bit. Let me handle him, Nagato ordered. The Rinnegan's abilities combined with Edo Tensei's immortality made Edo Tensei Nagato a poor match for ordinary shinobi. Nagato would be the main attacker. Kakashi and the others would support. Edo Tensei Nagato sneered. He hadn't yet figured out the identity of the young man who resembled his younger self. He even admitted a weakness. I have no mobility. You can use this to seal me. Kabuto, watching, chuckled. No mobility? That's not up to you. Two puffs of white smoke and a giant two-headed demon dog with wings materialized beside Edo Tensei Nagato. Beneath his feet, a monstrous bird took shape as well. Kabuto wasn't going to let Nagato fend for himself. On the other side, Shisui felt something off. Itachi, the man he knew as ruthless, looked sullen under his words. Shisui produced a bent spoon and hurled it to Naruto, his Sharingan shifting from 3 Tomoe to Mangekyo. Naruto, pour chakra into this, then return it to me, he said. The spoon's genjutsu effect intensified with chakra. To work genjutsu on an Itachi who also had the Mangekyo, Shisui needed the spoon as powered as possible. On a battlefield with more fights coming, Naruto, who had the most chakra, was the obvious choice. Naruto didn't understand why Shisui brandished a spoon mid-battle, but he obeyed, dumping vast amounts of chakra into it and flinging it back. Using fast taijutsu and fire release to close in, Shisui gripped the spoon, condensing chakra into his eyes. Itachi, look at me. Itachi's gaze met Shisui's. The Mangekyo flared blood red. Tsukuyomi, he cried. The world inside Itachi's gaze turned blood red. The world in Itachi Uchiha's eyes shifted in an instant, from a riverside forest to a void world under a blood-red sky. He found himself bound to a cross. It was a scene he knew well, though normally it was others who were trapped in his genjutsu. He looked genuinely surprised. Shisui, how do you have Tsukuyomi? Itachi asked, baffled. Even if Shisui had regained both eyes, his signature genjutsu should have been Kotoa Matsukami, not Tsukuyomi. Shisui didn't answer directly. Instead, he turned the question back on Itachi with a gravity that stunned him. Why did you kill me and take my eyes? What do you intend to do to Naruto with my eyes? Those few words carried a weight that knocked Itachi off balance. Kill him? Take his eyes? Shisui's death had always been a suicide in Itachi's memory. Shisui had entrusted his eyes to Itachi personally. For the first time, Itachi felt something like injustice. If he hadn't used his Mangekyo to examine Shisui and confirm that the man before him was truly Shisui Uchiha, he might have suspected Madara was playing some elaborate trick. Shisui, how did you revive? Your memories must be scrambled. You killed yourself and gave your eyes to me, Itachi said, forcing his voice calm as he retold the events of that day. He feared Madara had interfered somehow. It was suicide, huh? Shisui's face was calm, but inside he was shocked. He hadn't expected his counterpart in Naruto's world to die like that. Missing crucial context, this version of Shisui had made an absurd conclusion. Actually, I am not the Shisui you know. After confirming Itachi wasn't lying, Shisui revealed the truth. Not the Shisui I know? Itachi fell into thought. Everything about the man before him was identical, the face, the chakra, even the pattern of the manjikyo. If not the same Shisui, then who else? There aren't just single worlds, Shisui explained. There are parallel worlds. I'm Shisui Uchiha from a parallel world. Once the idea of parallel worlds was introduced, everything began to fit. The resurrected Shisui, the young men like Kakashi and Nagato, who resembled those from other timelines. They were all shinobi from alternate realities. Naruto told me that you wiped out your clan because they were planning a coup and that the Konoha leadership ordered the massacre. Shisui asked, thoughtful. It seems I didn't protect the Uchiha's reputation after all. Itachi sighed. He hadn't expected that news of the coup had spread so far. You don't need to worry. Naruto said Madara told him that. Only he, Kakashi, and Yamato know. It hasn't spread. Relieved, Itachi began to tell Shisui his story. He didn't mean to boast, but he had always considered himself precocious, not from natural talent alone, but from experiences. When he was 4, Fugaku had taken him to the battlefield. He had seen mountains of corpses and seas of blood and learned the cruelty of war. That experience shaped his life. Shisui had guided him many times, and after Shisui's death, the pressure from both village and clan had nearly destroyed him. He finally understood Shisui's burdens. For the village and the clan, Shisui had given too much. I couldn't stop the clan from planning a coup, Itachi said. To protect the village and preserve the clan's reputation, I agreed to Danzo's request and killed all the clan except Sasuke. Itachi watched Shisui's face for a reaction. Despite being from a parallel world, Shisui's voice and manner were so similar to the Shisui. Itachi had known that his opinion mattered. Shisui only sighed. Listening to the story, he saw tragedy written all over Itachi's life. Who takes a 4-year-old to a battlefield? Fugaku bore a great responsibility for what became of his son. And Shisui also bore some of the burden. His dying wish had been for Itachi to protect both the village and the Uchiha's honor, which implied he had already believed a coup couldn't be stopped. That wish, coming from someone Itachi trusted, had weighed deeply on him and shaped his decisions. After I died, you became arrogant, the par, Alil Shisui said gently. You tried to solve everything on your own. If you had followed what the third Hokage advised, used the Hokage's authority to delay the coup, to negotiate, the outcome might not have been as terrible. Itachi didn't defend himself. He conceded his mistakes. After awakening the Mangekyo, I trusted in my power and stopped trusting others. Shisui continued. You also lacked depth of thought. You didn't find the root of the problem in history. If you'd studied Konoha's founding and the role of the Uchiha police force, you'd have seen how that institution harmed the clan. With deeper understanding, you might have acted differently. Itachi's face reddened with shame. He'd thought he'd done the best he could. Shisui's words tore that comfort away, making him feel inadequate in every way. Then Shisui tapped Itachi lightly on the forehead with 2 fingers. Itachi reflexively looked up. Didn't your ninja academy teacher teach you? Don't lower your head during a lecture, Shisui said with the faintest smile. The genjutsu landscape shifted. The blood-red world faded to a peaceful forest. The cross binding Itachi dissolved. You tried very hard, but you lacked a proper guide, Shisui said softly. That led you the wrong way. Shisui didn't absolve Itachi, but he put a portion of the blame on circumstances. Itachi hadn't had a teacher like Hayate Mugetsu, only a father who'd taken a 4-year-old to war. With Danzo pressuring from outside and trouble within the clan, what could a poorly educated 13-year-old do? If Itachi hadn't annihilated the clan, Konoha might have crushed the coup attempt and massacred the Uchiha, and the damage could have invited covetousness from other villages and plunged the world into another war. Given Itachi's friend's dying wish, his childhood abhorrence of war, and his love for his brother, Shisui could understand why Itachi chose as he did. Itachi let out a long breath and relaxed. Just hearing that someone understood him, even if it came with criticism, brought relief. He owed Shisui gratitude for making his revival worth something. Thank you, Shisui, he said sincerely. Tell me about your world, Itachi asked. He wanted to know the story of this other Shisui, who seemed more capable and charismatic than the one he knew. Shisui sat cross-legged and smiled. Inside Tsukuyomi, 3 days and nights could pass while only an instant did outside, so they had time. In your world, were there conflicts between the Uchiha and Konoha? Shisui asked. Yes. Tell me how you handled them. Shisui's story began with a teacher, Hayate Mugetsu, the man who changed his life. Under Mugetsu's guidance, Shisui had learned restraint, judgment, and the breadth of history. He'd seen the problems of the Uchiha police force and, after gaining strength, had worked to reform the clan's education and extricate them from that poisonous structure. Hearing it, Itachi realized the police force wasn't a minor detail. Its influence had poisoned the clan from the inside. Shisui's success wasn't luck. After dealing with the Uchiha, Shisui said Mugetsu, who sometimes went by Sosuke, helped found the Shinobi sect and eventually built a ninja world alliance that brought long-lasting peace to the Shinobi nations. I really want to meet leader Mugetsu, Itachi said. In the few hours it took to hear Shisui's account, the teacher became something close to a saint in Itachi's mind. A man who, after all, accomplished what even Senju Hashirama had not, bringing the Shinobi world to unity. Shisui then used the Tsukuyomi space to create a vivid image of his teacher. Itachi studied it and frowned in surprise. Isn't that the fourth Hokage? Mugetsu's face resembled Minato Namikaze in many ways, though Shisui explained that to those who had known Mugetsu closely, the differences were clear. Itachi was satisfied, and for a moment the impossible felt real. With time left, Itachi told Shisui about his abilities, how his left Mangekyo could cast Tsukuyomi, and his right could summon Amaterasu. Shisui listened, calculating. An Edo Tensei Itachi was dangerous. His reanimated body could use Mangekyo techniques without the usual chakra drain or side effects. Shisui's mind moved fast. If his plan worked, it would neutralize a terrifying threat and perhaps gain a powerful ally. Please defeat me as quickly as possible, Itachi said. In the real world, under Kabuto's command, Itachi's Mangekyo bled blood tears and Amaterasu was poised to ignite. These were likely Itachi's last words inside the genjutsu. Be careful, I'm going to use Amaterasu, Itachi warned aloud. Shisui didn't dodge or flee. He looked directly at Itachi and activated the ability he'd gained from transplanting what he believed to be his own Mangekyo. Koto Amatsukami, he intoned, and slipped a single implanted thought into Itachi's mind. I am on the allied shinobi force's side. The effect was instant. Itachi's control snapped back to him. Surprised, he canceled the release of Amaterasu at the fastest possible speed. Shisui's voice in his head was calm. What happened in the past cannot be changed, but you can do something for the ninja world one last time. Amaterasu. Itachi unleashed Amaterasu again. This time he wasn't aiming at Shisui, but at the splitting hound Edo Nagato had summoned. The inextinguishable black flames reduced the beast to ash instantly. Itachi, have you broken free of the control? Edo Nagato asked, surprised to see Itachi no longer attacking Shisui and the others. Even he hadn't been able to break free from Edo Tensei's influence before. Itachi only gave a slight nod and said nothing. He turned and fired another stream of Amaterasu at Edo Nagato and the enormous bird-like summon. The black flames licked at the bird, it gave a mournful cry, and immediately Edo Nagato himself was engulfed and collapsed to the ground. Using a Mangekyo Sharingan technique like fire release, great fireball technique, satisfying, Obito said with thin envy. If he could use Kamui that freely, he'd use it for the smallest things. If it rained, he'd let Susanoo shelter him. I didn't expect him to have Koto Amatsukami as well, Obito added. Kabuto's face tightened. Itachi had been one of his trump cards, and now the enemy had taken him. With Nagato, though, there's still a chance. If we win, the payoff will be huge. He refused to panic and prepared to re-establish control over Edo Nagato personally to maximize the puppet's power. Kabuto still had the Hashirama cells and could gain a decisive edge if he acquired Shisui's Koto Amatsukami. Just as Nagato moved to seal Edo Nagato, the summoned corpse used Shinra Tensei to repel the Amaterasu and Nagato. Summoning technique. Edo Nagato activated his summoning again. White smoke flashed, then nothing visible appeared. Is it a chameleon? Someone wondered. Shinra Tensei. Nagato unleashed another powerful repulsive wave, flinging the invisible summon away. A mobile summon would have made Edo Nagato far more dangerous. Itachi and Shisui followed up with ninjutsu, destroying the creature. Edo Nagato could absorb ninjutsu, but his summons were still vulnerable. Chibaku Tensei. Nagato hesitated, then clasped his hands and gathered a vast amount of chakra. He had been reluctant to use Chibaku Tensei because of the cost, but prolonging the fight could drain even more chakra. He fashioned a small black sphere and threw it into the sky. A terrifying gravitational force erupted, and Edo Nagato began to float upward. Asura Path! Chibaku Tensei. Edo Nagato extended 2 mechanical arms with the Asura Path, plunging them into the ground to stabilize himself. He also expended chakra to form a small black orb. Everyone, use long-range ninjutsu. Destroy the core. The spell will break if you shatter it, Naruto shouted, remembering how close Chibaku Tensei had brought him to being sealed before. Tailed Beast Ball. Yasaka Magatama. Wind Release, Rasengan Shuriken. Fire Release, Flame Emperor. Obito and the others unleashed their strongest techniques. A blinding white explosion shattered Edo Nagato's Chibaku Tensei orb. Some attacks targeted the orb. Others struck the ground beneath Edo Nagato, keeping him from resisting the pull. He was finally dragged onto the giant stone sphere, unable to move. Itachi took his chance. Susanoo thrust the Totsuka blade, a weapon with sealing power, forward. The flaming longsword pierced Edo Nagato, embedding itself deep into the Chibaku Tensei core. The instant the blade struck, Kabuto's connection to the corpse was severed. His strength dropped significantly without mobility. Not as strong as Nagato from the parallel world, Kabuto snarled and punched the earth in frustration. Edo Nagato had been the strongest Edo ninja aside from Uchiha Madara. Losing him stung. Worse, Kabuto had no reserves left to send out Edo ninja to capture the 9 Tails and 8 Tails, or to hold the masked figure, who was posing as Uchiha Madara, hostage. I can only rely on the real Uchiha Madara now. He took a steadying breath. He still had one final trump card. If things went his way, he might yet win the war. Edo Nagato, who had regained consciousness, looked around the messy battlefield and gave a weeful apology. I'm sorry for causing trouble. Let's not talk about that, Itachi replied. You were controlled by Kabuto. You're about to be sealed by my Totsuka blade, so if you have anything to say it quickly. Itachi shook his head. He figured Edo Nagato must have many questions. Edo Nagato looked at Nagato and asked, Who are you? My name is Nagato. Think of me as another possible version of you. It's complicated, and I can't explain it all quickly, so this will be more efficient. Nagato stepped forward, placed his palm on Edo Nagato's head, and extended his chakra. Edo Nagato understood and linked his chakra to Nagato's. Chakra is mysterious. Beyond molding nature, when two people's chakra are closely connected, they can share deep communication, memories, emotions, like opening a door into another life. Because it's an invasion of privacy, it's almost never done, but Edo Nagato was a corpse and soon to vanish. Nagato didn't hesitate. Images flooded Edo Nagato's awareness. He saw Nagato's birth, parents no different from those in his own memories, and the despair that led Nagato to awaken the Rinnegan after his parents were killed. If not for the sense of foreignness that told him these were Nagato's memories, Edo Nagato might have thought he was re-watching his own life. Then, differences appeared. A man named Sosuke showed up. He inspected Yahiko's abilities and left. When he returned, he was known as a ninja master in the Land of Rain. Because of Sosuke's influence, Yahiko led the Akatsuki into a shinobi sect. Sosuke founded to pursue peace in the rain and beyond. They were still ambushed by Hanzo, but under Sosuke's protection, the group retreated without casualties. Yahiko didn't die. The Akatsuki survived. The Rain Village's rotten elements, not the Akatsuki, were the ones who perished. It was a beautiful world. Edo Nagato's lips lifted into a smile. Then the memories became even richer. The fallen Hanzo found his honor again and died for the peace of the Land of Rain. Nagato, Yahiko, and the others pushed the shinobi sect forward, restoring safety and improving public welfare. Akatsuki elders Edo Nagato knew were alive and doing good, each contributing to peace. Everyone was alive and walking their true paths. Edo Nagato felt a swell of satisfaction. But it didn't stop there. The world grew better still. After the Shinobi World War, Mu Yue used new technology and Konoha's strength to forge collaborations between villages, boosting productivity and laying groundwork for an alliance. At the Great Martial Arts Tournament, Mu Yue foiled the conspiracies of the 4 great shinobi villages, established the Ninja World Alliance, integrated global ninja forces, and protected world peace. Yahiko's dream of peace, the Akatsuki's dream, had come true. Thank you, Edo Nagato whispered, moved. He was grateful Nagato had shown him such a peaceful world and introduced him to a great shinobi like Mu Yue. He believed if he could tell Yahiko and the others about this, they would rejoice. It proved world peace could be achieved. They only needed the right leader. It was just a small favor, Nagato said, voice tinged with melancholy. He looked at Edo Nagato with pity. Compared to Nagato, Edo Nagato's fate had indeed been tragic. He had found a warm home with Akatsuki only for it to be destroyed and then been led astray. Naruto, keep going. Become the Mu Yue of our world, Edo Nagato urged, looking to Naruto with encouragement. He believed Naruto's inner strength could surpass his. Naruto scratched his head. You mean as excellent as Mu Yue? That's hard, but I'll try my best. Edo Nagato smiled, then turned his last gaze to Nagato. If possible, please convey my thanks to leader Mu Yue. With that contented expression, Edo Nagato dissolved into chakra and was absorbed into the gourd within Itachi's Susanoo. He was troublesome. Even with so many of us, the fight was arduous, Obito sighed. Edo Tensei's immortality and boundless chakra were terrifying. Edo Nagato's jutsu absorption made him worse. By the way, Su, what did you do? How did you get Itachi to break free? Obito asked, curious. That technique would have been perfect on Edo Nagato himself. 2 Nagatos would be a devastating asset. The eye I transplanted can use a genjutsu called Koto Amatsukami, Shisui explained. It can subtly alter a target's consciousness. I used it to overwrite Edo Tensei's control. Since Nagato has the Rinnegan, I worried it might not work on him, so I targeted Itachi instead. Powerful, Obito breathed. He hadn't expected Shisui to quietly possess such a terrifying genjutsu. Changing someone's consciousness was too dangerous. It's fine, Shisui said. The cooldown's longer than Divine Imperial Throne. It can only be used once every 10+ years. Obito immediately realized Koto Amatsukami was no kamui. One use every decade meant almost never. Itachi confirmed he had located Kabuto's position and intended to use genjutsu to control Kabuto and release Edo Tensei, dissipating all Edo ninja. Kabuto's position? So we split into 2 groups? Naruto asked. Intelligence said Madara was leading the Jinchuriki to the battlefield. If everyone went to Kabuto, the main front might be undermanned. No need. Shisui Naruto, you continue to the battlefield. I'm enough for Kabuto, Itachi said. I'm an immortal Edo body now. Even if Kabuto is the caster, he can't control me after I broke free. Naruto looked at Kakashi. Kakashi agreed. Itachi's Edo body and genjutsu mastery made him ideal for confronting Kabuto. But putting everything on one operative was risky. That's where Obito's Flying Thunder God came in. Obito, place a Flying Thunder God mark on Itachi, Kakashi ordered. If Itachi didn't return quickly, they could teleport him there in an instant. After arranging assignments, Itachi asked about Sasuke. Naruto told him Sasuke had joined Akatsuki under Madara's influence and intended to destroy Konoha. Itachi went silent for a moment, then spoke a few quiet words and left to find Kabuto. Kakashi and the others resumed their advance toward the battlefield. When facing Uchiha Madara, be careful. There's no Mu Yue in this world. Madara has prepared many hidden things, Nagato warned as they traveled. The memories Edo Nagato had shared made clear that his tragedy may not have been accidental. Madara had invited Nagato and been rejected. Soon after, the Akatsuki was reduced to Nagato and Konan. Nagato suspected Madara had done something behind the scenes. This Uchiha Madara is truly evil, Obito said, grim. In this parallel world, Madara had tormented Naruto, Sasuke, Edo Nagato, and many others, then stoked the Shinobi World War to collect tailed beasts and seize dominion. He was no ordinary villain. He was a deeply rotten supervillain who needed to be struck down hard. Suddenly, Nara Shikaku's voice echoed in their minds. Uchiha Madara has appeared on the battlefield in Edo Tensei form and is currently fighting the 4th Division. Everyone halted. Only the dead could be resurrected by Edo Tensei. If Madara had been brought back, he must be dead. But earlier reports had said Madara was leading the Jinchuriki. How could both be true? Could Mu Yue have been nearby and killed Madara? Obito wondered. Mu Yue was the only one he could imagine capable of taking down Madara so quickly. Before they could speculate further, Shikaku delivered the truth in cold, clear words. The masked man is not the true Uchiha Madara. 772. The identity of the masked man. Nara Shikaku's warning was blunt. The masked man isn't the real Uchiha Madara, but he's still bringing 6 Jinchuriki to the battlefield. you're very likely to run into him. Be careful. Even if he's not the true Madara, the strength and ambition he shows aren't a lie. If his identity was a fake, his actions were not. He was still the allied Shinobi force's prime target. If he's not Uchiha Madara, then who is he? Obito asked, puzzled. He had been wrong about Madara. The real villain was someone else entirely. We don't know yet, Shikaku admitted. What's certain is that the masked man is dangerous and one of the masterminds behind this war. Naruto's voice hardened. Whoever he is, we just need to beat him. Right. Who cares if he's Madara or not? Let's take him down. Obito agreed. Nagato's sensing flared. He located several powerful chakra signatures approaching. Naruto, Killer Bee, you two stand at the front. Everyone else, fall back behind us. The battle's about to begin. Nagato was the strongest among them. Naruto and Killer Bee were Jinchuriki, with huge chakra reserves and resilience. Obito turned to Rin Nohara. Rin, be extremely careful. These enemies aren't simple. Rin smiled lightly. I've mastered the Yin Seal. I'm not as weak as you think, Obito. You're the one who needs to watch out. You're only a shadow clone. Obito scratched his head. If I were my real body, I'd pull you into the Kamui dimension. That would be safer. Kakashi cut in. Naruto, tell us everything you know about the masked man. Naruto thought, then described what he'd seen. Kakashi and the others listened closely. He rarely fights directly, but he has two strange ninjutsu, Naruto said. First, phasing. He can turn his body into something like a phantom. Attacks pass through him. Second, absorption and release. He can absorb people or objects he touches into some unknown dimension and later release them. Kakashi's eyes narrowed. The descriptions sounded familiar. He looked at Obito. That sounds a lot like my Kamui. Obito rubbed his chin. It's similar, but it shouldn't be Kamui. Kamui makes the body seem to phase, but really, it's teleporting apart into the Kamui dimension. Besides, my main body died in this world during the Third Shinobi War. How could it be my Kamui? What about absorption and release? Kakashi asked. Other eye techniques can do something similar, Obito added. Mu Yue Sensei's Daikokuten can absorb and release things too. Something clicked in Obito's head, and a terrible possibility surfaced. Oh my god! What if the masked man is Mu Yue from this world? They had assumed the two worlds were similar but not identical. Arriving here, they'd found almost everything matched up, except Mu Yue's absence. Mu Yue's absolute power, the masked man's inscrutability, and Naruto's report all connected for Obito into a frightening conjecture. Maybe the Mu Yue they knew existed in this world under a different name. Maybe he was the one behind the masked man's mask. Impossible, Shisui snapped. Even across worlds, Mu Yue wouldn't become someone like that. He's always been gentle, even if circumstances change. He wouldn't use his power for selfish ends. Obito deflated a little. You're right. It's my fault for jumping to conclusions. Kakashi shrugged. There aren't many coincidences. The masked man might have stolen your Sharingan, or he might have the same eye technique. If it really is Kamui, it'll be hard to deal with, Kakashi said. He frowned. And where's Obito's real body? We put the Patara earrings in the Kamui dimension for safekeeping. If Obito's main body hasn't arrived, we don't have the power of the Patara. Nagato tensed. They're coming! Everyone gathered chakra. Then the 7 figures led by the masked man came into view. White-masked Obito was about to speak when his eyes landed on Kakashi, standing farther back, and a younger, uninjured version of himself beside him. Confusion filled him. Then, farther behind Kakashi, he saw an adult Rin Nohara. His pupils contracted. Rin. If the atmosphere hadn't been so tense, he might have laughed and assumed he'd slipped into infinite Tsukuyomi. This was impossible and surreal all at once. White Zetsu surfaced from underground and answered Obito's confusion coldly. Another world. Why didn't you tell me this sooner? Obito's face beneath his mask darkened. If he hadn't known how useless it was to kill a White Zetsu, he would have done it on the spot. Yakushi Kabuto and the Zetsu occupying the battlefield surely knew about this world's differences earlier, and they hadn't told him. As both sides assessed one another, Nagato's eyes fell on the motionless Mizukage. He clenched his fists. This world's Mizukage Roshi has been turned into a puppet. Shisui's mind raced through tactics. If that Mangekyo Sharingan's technique really is Kamui, combined with the Rinnegan, that's bad, Kakashi agreed. Kamui plus Rinnegan would be a nightmare. Rin felt an odd, inexplicable familiarity looking at the masked man. This was her first time in a parallel world and her first sighting of him, but something about him tugged at her. Naruto, impatient and blunt, shouted, "Who the hell are you? Don't impersonate anyone. The real Uchiha Madara is appearing somewhere else." "That bastard Kabuto," Obito's counterpart replied silently in his head, adding one more grievance against Yakushi Kabuto, reviving Madara with Edo Tensei without consulting him. The masked man only sneered. Names don't matter in this despairing world. Who anyone is has no meaning. Obito tried to bait him. "A rat hiding behind a mask. Show your face." Kakashi interjected, dry. "Maybe it's for our own good. Some faces are worse than the masks." The masked man wasn't interested in words. He flashed backward, and the 6 Edo Tensei Jinchuriki behind him surged forward. Controlling 6 Jinchuriki at once sapped his chakra, so he had to rely on them for the main attack. Lava release, scorching stream rock technique. The puppet Mizukage Roshi roared, spitting a stream of blazing lava balls. Nagato slapped out his hand. Shinra Tensei! A terrifying, repulsive force exploded outward, throwing the lava and several charging Jinchuriki back. "Everyone, listen. Their vision is linked. If one sees something, the others see it too." Naruto called out as he formed a Rasengan. "Their bodies are connected by black chakra receivers. Pull those out and the masked man shouldn't be able to control them." White-masked Obito barely blinked. His 6 paths were different, carefully modified, and he wasn't worried by a little information. As he maintained control, tails corresponding to the tailed beasts sprouted from behind the 6 Jinchuriki, red-tailed beast chakra flaring on their bodies. Kakashi slid into focus. He first gathered natural energy, entered Sage mode, then used Breath Technique Chakra mode, activated Transparent World, and called Enma. Facing a Jinchuriki, Enma was a good match for conserving chakra. Shisui activated his Mangekyo Sharingan. Even if Tsukuyomi wouldn't work here, Divine Imperial Throne still offered crucial protection. Obito, the Shadow clone, also drew in natural energy and entered a breathing technique Sage mode. As a clone, he couldn't use Mangekyo Eye powers, so this was his best option. Rin, too, gathered her breathing chakra. She hadn't mastered breathing techniques fully, but she could sense natural energy now and had improved her physical ability. She took a few steps back, keeping distance so she wouldn't be a liability. As the weakest, her priority was to avoid being a burden. "You bastard masked man, let me reveal your mask," Naruto shouted, golden chakra surging as he charged forward with a Rasengan in hand. No text for this chapter. Let's proceed to the next chapter. 774, Evil Earth Madara joins the battlefield. What could a fool like you, raised in a greenhouse, possibly understand? Pomian Daitu spat coldly. He had never really spoken with Obito before. Their encounter had been brief, but he knew enough. This was Uchiha Obito, and the moment Pomian Daitu saw him, he recognized one thing. Obito was content. He had suffered no great loss, no crushing pain. "You, who possess everything, will never understand the truth of this world the way I do. You never should have gotten involved," Pomian Daitu continued. "Better to live comfortably than leave one's own world to meddle in the Shinobi World War." It was bad enough that he sought death himself. Bringing Rin Nohara along was even worse, and deserved punishment. "I'm not a fool, you inherently evil bastard," Obito shot back. "You're also Minato-sensei's student. What did he ever do to you that you would hurt him and Kushina-sensei, leaving Naruto an orphan? How did the people of the ninja world offend you so much that you'd start the 4th Shinobi World War and cause all this devastation?" Obito couldn't understand how his counterpart in this world had become like this. He had always hated war and tragedy, yet Pomian Daitu created tragedy after tragedy, pushing the world into conflict. "All of this is a necessary sacrifice, the last darkness before dawn," Pomian Daitu said without changing expression. Konoha's strength had to be weakened. Provoking the Uchiha into conflict with Konoha would lay the groundwork for a global war. If the Uchiha and Konoha fought openly, the Shinobi World War would be inevitable, and he could fish in those troubled waters. The plan had hit a snag, and the war never fully broke out, only local conflicts, but that only delayed his timetable. "When the eye of the moon descends, the dead will be resurrected. Everyone's wishes will be granted, and they will be saved," he said, feeling no guilt about killing. Once he used the infinite Tsukuyomi, everyone would live in blissful dreams, and the dead could be returned in those illusions. That, he thought, was mercy. It was why he had not resurrected Rin in reality. Recreating her, in this hopeless world, would be a desecration of her memory. That sounds like you've been conned. Not even Mu Yue sensei can do something so grand. You think you can pull that off with only the nine-tailed beasts? Obito scoffed. Resurrecting everyone and granting every wish was absurd. Talking to a fool like you is a waste of life. Get out of here. Pomian Daitu flashed forward, pulled the Obito shadow clone out of the Kamui dimension, and threw him aside with brutal force. Kakashi reached to catch the clone, but when he saw Pomian Daitu's face, his heart seized and he froze. Everyone else halted, stunned at the sight. Even the Obito clone outside reacted the same way. The clone slammed against a rock and dissolved into white smoke. My memories actually flowed back to me. Is the main body not here yet? The Obito shadow clone murmured, realizing the new memories that had poured into him. So you survived? But why? Kakashi looked at Pomian Daitu with a mix of confusion and pain. The shock hit him harder than it did Obito. For Obito, this was someone from another world. For Kakashi, this was his reality. To Kakashi, Obito was the friend who had sacrificed himself for him, someone he would honor forever. Hours earlier, the arrival of Obito had stirred memories of his deceased friend. Now he was told the masked man, responsible for the Fourth Shinobi World War, was that same friend. How could Kakashi accept this? It really is Obito, Kakashi said, stunned. He had half-joked before, now the pieces fit. No one had attacked when Kushina was in labor because the masked man had been standing guard at the entrance. Thinking that, Kakashi worried for the Obito shadow clone. Based on what he knew of Obito, this revelation would break him. Though from different worlds, the similarities were too many. Pomian Daitu was a possible version of Obito. Without Mu Yue, Obito may too well have become ruthless. You're not serious, are you? The Obito I know would never become a bastard like you. Naruto clenched his fists, disbelief written across his face. He'd known Obito barely a month, but it was enough. Obito was kind, eager to help, always quick to apologize if he ever said something wrong. Even during the Shinobi World War, Obito had offered to help, to stand against the evil Uchiha Madara. To think the Obito of this world was actually the culprit who killed Kakashi's parents, it was unbearable. Shouldn't you know this best, since Rin was killed by your own hands, Kakashi? Pomian Daitu taunted. Kakashi opened his mouth but said nothing, his face twisted with pain and self-reproach. Obito wanted to press more questions, but the moment wasn't for talk. The priority was to stop Pomian Daitu and destroy the Outer Path demonic statue that was evolving. This must be some fake mask you made, right? The Obito I know wouldn't turn out like you. Naruto charged with a Rasengan. A fool like him isn't worthy of becoming me, Pomian Daitu replied, drawing the Uchiha fan from his back and using Uchiha reflection to fling Naruto away. After that quick exchange, he assessed the situation coolly. Kakashi's chakra was low. He couldn't use Kamui as freely, so Pomian Daitu's Kamui remained effective. He just had to be cautious. With the Hashirama cells bolstering him, stalling until Uchiha Madara arrived wasn't impossible. You're trying to be Hokage and stop the war, yet you call him a fool. Then what are you, an ambitious man who wants to drown the world in chaos? That doesn't make you smart. Only a bastard. Rin Nohara stepped forward, eyes fixed on Pomian Daitu. His grip on the fan trembled. He said nothing. Ignorance is bliss, he thought. Rin couldn't comprehend the grandeur of his Eye of the Moon plan, so her emotional words were easily dismissed. Whoosh! Suddenly, the fallen Jinchuriki, from whom the tailed beasts had been extracted, erupted in towering white light as their souls began to leave their bodies. Even the Edo Tensei Kakuzu, sealed by the scroll, broke free. Itachi succeeded. The Edo Tensei has been released. Shisui breathed, relieved. Yakushi Kabuto had been defeated by Uchiha Itachi. Pomian Daitu no longer had the Edo Tensei as reinforcements. Madara should still have a trump card, right? Pomian Daitu frowned. If Uchiha Madara disappeared now, holding out until the Ten Tails completed its evolution would be difficult. He had strength, yes, but too many opponents. Kurama Naruto in Sage Mode, Nagato with intact limbs and Sage Chakra, Shisui with Manjikyo Sharingan and Sage Chakra, Jiraiya, Orochimaru. Looks like you're out of luck. You won't get to see Mu Yue. Kakuzu shrugged as his Edo-tensei self began to dissipate. He couldn't hold a soul that was leaving. It's a shame, but nothing to be done. As for the rest, I'll find all the money you've hidden so it doesn't rot in the ground, Edo-tensei Kakuzu joked as he ascended. You! Ninja World expletive! The real Kakuzu cursed feebly. That had been his life savings. He flapped upward from where they could see his lips move, but the words faded. Good opportunity. Killer Bee seized the opening and charged at the outer path demonic statue in full-tailed beast form. Kamui! Pomien Daitu flashed in front of the 8 tails and released specially prepared iron spikes from the Kamui dimension. Bang! 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 The spikes pierced the 8 tails and stabbed into the ground. The outer path's power trapped it, immobilizing the beast. Uchiha Flame Formation. Pomien Daitu slammed his hand to the ground, and a fiery red circular barrier shot up around the demonic statue, shielding it. It was an Uchiha formation Madara had taught him, second in solidity only to the 4 red yang formation performed by 4 Kage. I'm a failure who couldn't protect my comrades, but I'm still going to stop you, Kakashi said, steadier now, gripped tight on his kunai. The man before them had once been his friend, but that did not change the fact that he had fallen into darkness. If needed, Kakashi would put him down. Since you admit you're useless, you should just lie down and stay that way. Pomien Daitu used wood release to block the incoming attacks and ignored the rest as he used Kamui to fire a torrent of kunai at Kakashi. Sage Art, Purple Lightning. Kakashi channeled Sage Chakra. Purple lightning burst from his palm and met the incoming kunai, helping to block them. You use your chakra for Kamui. I'll help you hold the line, he said. With Obito's main body absent, only Kakashi's warped Kamui could counter the ethereal one. It felt strange to be protected by the person he mourned, but Kakashi, as a rational shinobi, knew this wasn't the time for sentiment. He drew chakra as fast as he could, waiting for Pomien Daitu to use Kamui to dodge. Surrounded by so many powerful opponents, Pomien Daitu couldn't avoid using Kamui. The moment he did, Kakashi would use Kamui too, sending the attack into the void, leaving Pomien Daitu no escape. Damn it. The injured Pomien Daitu's face was grim. Without the Hashirama cells he had taken, the barrage might already have put him down. How unsightly, Obito. A voice Pomien Daitu knew well cut through the chaos. Uchiha Madara, clad in red battle armor, descended from the sky and landed beside him. Jiraiya and the others stopped attacking and quickly pulled back. I was planning on having some fun with the 5 Kage, Uchiha Madara said with a displeased tone. He was annoyed to be revived as an Edo Tensei body instead of by true reincarnation. Edo Tensei was serviceable, but just as he'd been getting interested and ready to toy with the Kage, Pomien Daitu had called in more help. Madara had to activate his full Susanoo to cut through the Kage and rush to Pomien Daitu. Even his Edo Tensei form had been unstable on the way here. Fortunately, he deciphered Tobirama Senju's forbidden jutsu and so hadn't dissipated like the others. These opponents are no worse than the 5 Kage, probably stronger. You'll have more fun, Pomien Daitu said flatly. Madara scanned the battlefield with obvious interest. Ninetail's power, Sage Chakra, and the Rinnegan. He paused when he saw Nagato. Pomien Daitu had 1 Rinnegan. How did that childish-looking Nagato have 2? When Madara saw Rin Nohara, his surprise deepened, and he glanced at Pomien Daitu, but the latter's face showed nothing. They do seem more interesting than the 5 Kage, Madara laughed, loud and untroubled. Edo Tensei Uchiha Madara? Why? Wasn't Edo Tensei released? Shisui stared at Madara's eyes, puzzled. At first it looked like Madara had been truly resurrected, but closer inspection revealed he was still Edo Tensei. Any ninjutsu can be deciphered. He must have decoded Edo Tensei's mechanism. That's why the release didn't touch him, Orochimaru analyzed. Because of Mu Yue, his path diverged from the Orochimaru in Uzumaki Naruto's world, and he hadn't specialized in Edo Tensei, but he knew forbidden jutsu and could infer what had happened. Uchiha Madara with the Rinnegan. Kakashi inhaled sharply, dread climbing his spine. The Madara Mu Yue had defeated had been terrifying enough with just a 3-tomo Sharingan. The Madara before them not only had Edo Tensei immortality, but also an unknown Rinnegan. Could they possibly seal him? The battlefield bristled with tension as alliances and revelations collided. Pomian Daitu had a plan that he called salvation. But with the arrival of Uchiha Madara and the diverse powers arrayed against him, the final shape of this battle was far from decided. No text for this chapter. Let's proceed to the next chapter. Chapter 776. Where did Obito go? This time it should last longer, Kurama said, pouring chakra into Naruto as best he could. Naruto's body flared with that familiar, brilliant gold. Kurama mode reasserted itself. Riding the surge of Ninetales chakra, Naruto initiated his tailed beast transformation, preparing to take on Susanoo. Nagato and Kakashi dove into the Ninetales chakra to help, blocking any attempt by Uchiha Madara to use wood release to bind Naruto. Fire release, blast wave wild dance. Pomian Daitu formed hand seals with blistering speed and unleashed a wide area fire attack. A colossal fire serpent whirled forward, forming a massive vortex of flame. Water release, great waterfall technique. Rin Nohara, operating in water-breathing chakra mode, converted a huge reserve of water-release chakra in an instant and spat out a torrent like a falling meteor, extinguishing the flames. As the fire died, vast steam rose from the evaporating water. Using the mist for cover, Pomian Daitu slipped toward Rin Nohara and reached out, intent on dragging her into Kamui again. Obito, remembering Rin's previous disappearance into the Kamui dimension, had been watching her closely. When Pomian Daitu moved to strike, Obito took his chance and punched. Fire release! Flame fist! The flaming blow slammed into Pomian Daitu. Obito's face went pale. This was only a shadow clone. If it had been the main body, Pomian Daitu would have used Kamui and avoided the hit. The clone dispersed into smoke. At that same instant, Pomian Daitu's real body materialized, seized Rin Nohara, and twitched, both of them vanishing into the Kamui dimension. Bang! Rin landed a solid punch, sending Pomian Daitu flying 10 meters. Pomian Daitu thought, wryly noting the yin seal and that monstrous strength. This was Tsunade's style. Rin from another world must have trained with Tsunade, he mused. Rin didn't press the advantage. She looked at Pomian Daitu with a steadiness that pulled at something inside him. Memories of a different time flickered in his eyes. You must have dreamed of becoming Hokage too, didn't you, Obito? Rin asked softly. Pomian Daitu's expression softened as if returned to the past. When his challenge against Kakashi failed, others called him arrogant, but only Rin praised the courage it took to try. She teased him for being late because he'd stopped to help an old woman. She'd wait for him at the graduation ceremony because he hadn't arrived. She'd read the congratulatory message aloud herself because he had no teacher with him. Let me see you become Hokage and save the world, she'd said, watching him silently and showing up whenever he needed help. She'd tended his injuries when he hid them, nudged him when he was down, always giving him reason to move forward. But that gentle girl seemed gone now, taken by this despairing world. Hokage? That doesn't matter anymore. Pomian Daitu sneered, then took a step forward, as if to attack. Then why have you always protected me? Rin asked, advancing instead of retreating. Pomian Daitu had brought her into Kamui twice, but both times it had been while Madara was unleashing massive abilities. Though he could fight evenly with many powerful opponents, he'd held back against Rin. He'd been fierce toward Kakashi yet tempered. Rin believed that restraint showed he still held to some beliefs. Maybe he could change. Pomian Daitu sneered coldly, eyes not meeting hers. Because you have use. With your strength, you can't affect the battle. You know, Rin said, voice clear, when I learned the masked man was you, Obito, I was shocked. Obito isn't perfect. He's reckless. He hates theory. He acts tough and pretends he's fine when he's hurt. But none of that hides who he is. He's brave. He never gives up, even against impossible odds. He cherishes his comrades. He doesn't abandon them, even if they die. He's kind. He'll set aside his business to help someone in need. He chose to help an old person over an important ceremony because that's who he was. Pomian Daitu paused. He was 2 meters from her now, and for the first time in a long while, words seemed to fail him. Then tell me, where did that brave, comrade-cherishing, kind Obito go? I want to find him. Rin stepped even closer, eyes locked on him. Rin, be careful, Kakashi warned. Space shuddered. Kakashi and an Obito shadow clone appeared, pulling Rin and the scene back from the edge of Kamui. The complete Susanoo's attack had been so broad that Madara's last strike had disrupted them, preventing an immediate re-entry into Kamui. Pomi and Daitu fixed the Obito clone with a long, silent look, then activated Kamui and departed the Kamui dimension without another word. Rin, are you okay? Obito hurried forward. I'm fine, Rin said, shaking her head. The only damage was the single punch she'd thrown at Pomi and Daitu. Obito, however, detected chaotic chakra in her and realized she'd been under a genjutsu. He helped dispel it. Kakashi noted damp traces on the ground, gasping as he caught his breath. Rest a bit, Obito told him. I'll destroy all the ninja tools in his Kamui dimension so he can't use them against us later. There was little point in leaving early. The fighting outside had escalated to a level beyond them. Even Orochimaru and Jiraiya were mere spectators. The outcome now hinged on Naruto, with Nagato and Killer Bee as major factors. As Obito tore through a pile of ninja tools, something caught his eye, a small glint of gold. He brushed debris aside and found a pair of golden earrings. Potara earrings from a parallel world? He wondered. Why hadn't Pomi and Daitu used them? No time for theories. What mattered was Obito had a powerful tool that could sway the battle. Kakashi, get us out of here. We're going to win, Obito said urgently. Win? Kakashi blinked. They were still at a disadvantage despite Madara's inability to finish them off. But Obito's confidence was unmistakable. You'll see. Just take us out, Obito insisted, and Kakashi, trusting him, activated Kamui. The three of them returned from the Kamui dimension. Outside, Obito tossed one earring to Nagato and the other to Kakashi. If used by the strongest, Naruto, or the second strongest, Nagato, the earrings might produce a fused ninja capable of overpowering Madara. Compatibility was uncertain, and Naruto carried Kurama inside him, adding complications. But Kakashi and Nagato had tried fusion before. Their compatibility and complementary skills were excellent. Potara earrings. Kakashi's surprise hardened into action. He flashed chakra, grabbed the earring, and put it on. Nagato extended a hand with a powerful pull and drew the other earring to himself, placing it on his ear. A force tugged them together. As their bodies touched, a blinding white light enclosed them. When the radiance faded, a tall, slender, white-haired shinobi stood where they had been, part Nagato, part Kakashi. This is, Kakashi managed, astonished at the face that bore both of them. Madara, ever aggressive, swung Susanu's giant blade tens of meters long, bringing it down in a savage arc aimed at the new fusion, Kakamon. Careful. Naruto shot out a chakra arm to block, buying a second to dodge. But Kakamon didn't dodge. He stood, cool and composed, making eye contact with Madara's Susanoo via the Rinnegan. The blade crashed down, severing Naruto's chakra arm and striking the ground beneath Kakamon. To Madara's surprise, the blade froze 2 centimeters above Kakamon's head. Unable to descend another millimeter, no matter how hard he pushed Susanoo's power. Interesting, Madara said, studying the halted blade. One clean strike from him could cleave mountains, yet the sword hung, helpless. Kakamon shifted his breathing. Lightning breathing, full concentration. He folded the natural energy he'd gathered into Sage Chakra, entering breathing technique chakra mode and Sage mode, while also opening Transparent World, bringing every resource to bear. Lightning crackled around him, bright against the night. He drew Anma from his back, and channeling immense lightning, chakra, slashed. Crack! Susanoo's giant blade shattered into points of light and blew away. As expected, fusion is the way, Obito breathed. With Kakamon added to Naruto and Killer Bee, Madara's options narrowed. Kakashi, alone earlier, had trained under different circumstances, watched from the ground, reflecting on what might have been had his otherworld counterpart been the same. But now was not the time for regret. Naruto leapt forward, eager to press the advantage. I'll help, he cried. Madara answered in kind. Wood release, wood dragon technique. A thick wood dragon lunged to seize the Nine-Tails Naruto. Kakamon flashed to Naruto's side. Shinra Tensei. A massive repulsive force pushed the wood dragon aside. Metkai opened the 7th gate and unleashed a tiger-shaped air cannon, Noon Tiger, that obliterated the wooden assault. With everyone's help, Naruto closed on Madara, his 9 tails whipping out to bind Susanoo. Killer Bee, in his tailed beast form, launched thick tentacles to aid the restraint. Kakamon poured every ounce of chakra into himself. Lightning coalesced around Enma, clouds swallowed the moon, and lightning struck from the dark sky, intensifying his power. Madara's features hardened as his Rinnegan flared. Suzanu's four giant hands pushed through Naruto and B's holds and swung another intact greatsword, carving off a tearing slice of sword chi. Kakamon brought Enma down in a single motion. The purple lightning blade flashed, and the night erupted in blinding violet light. Where the blade passed, space itself seemed rent. The blue sword chi and the purple blade collided, and after a brief clash, the blue chi disintegrated before Madara. At the same moment, Naruto and Killer Bee condensed tailed beast balls and spat them at Madara. A titanic explosion swallowed the scene. When the smoke cleared, a long, narrow gully and a deep crater marked the earth. In that crater, Madara lay, his body continuously regenerating, while the battlefield settled, the outcome still uncertain, but the momentum clearly shifting in the allied shinobi's favor. Not too late, huh? Ink blasting, rage end. A steady stream of dark ink poured from the Eight-Tails' mouth. The moment it hit the ground, it transformed into Killer Bee, who surged forward and used Taijutsu to bind Uchiha Madara. This was a sealing technique Killer Bee could only perform while fully fused with his tailed beast. Its sealing power was formidable, capable of trapping multiple targets at once, but it had a fatal flaw. It needed 3 seconds to take full effect. If anything went wrong during that time, the seal could fail. Everyone else threw themselves into keeping Madara restrained, doing everything they could to prevent him from breaking free. "It's a pity I'm not at my peak," Madara said, shaking his head. Had he been at full strength, even the 5 Kage would not have been enough to stop him. His Edo Tensei body regenerated chakra quickly, but its maximum output was greatly diminished. "You dead men, go back to where you belong." Naruto felt a flicker of relief when it looked like Madara might finally be sealed. If Madara was contained, dealing with Po Myeon-Daitu would be far easier. Even if Kakashi had no chakra left, they could still press through Po Myeon-Daitu's Kamui with relentless offensives. Madara's mouth curved into a smile at Naruto's words. Sealing him wouldn't be that simple. Wood human technique. The ground trembled, and a colossal wooden Buddha rose onto the battlefield with a thunderous boom. 5 smaller Buddha heads atop the statue spewed 5 different chakra natures at once. Thick, muscular arms sprouted from its back and smashed down toward Madara's position. The strike was sudden and devastating. Even Naruto and Kakamon, the fastest to react, only had time to shield their teammates in a frantic rush. When the dust settled, Madara was gone from the crater. He stood on the giant Buddha's shoulder, and beside him a cloaked figure in black with a white spiral mask watched impassively. "There's still a backup plan. Another strong enemy has appeared," Kakamon said, his face solemn. The dream slash they had just used had consumed most of his chakra. He could not unleash it again at that power. That meant sealing Madara had just become far more difficult, especially with a new, powerful ally on the field. "This is bad," Kakashi panted, his face grim. Consecutive fights with Po Myeon-Daitu and Madara had nearly exhausted his chakra. He could not rely on Kamui, and now the enemy had reinforced. A violent chakra eruption split the air. The Outer Path demonic statue convulsed. Its power shattered the Uchiha flame formation. Po Myeon-Daitu had set, and the surrounding earth cracked under the force. From the wreckage emerged a titan, a gigantic, one-eyed thing, the 10 Tails. "Is this the 10 Tails? It's nothing like a tailed beast," Kakamon muttered, horrified at the monster's overwhelming chakra. People often described massive chakra as tailed beast level, but the 10 Tails' presence made even a tailed beast seem childlike. Naruto and Killer Bee attacked with tailed beast balls, but the 10 Tails casually brushed them aside with a flick, showing the gulf between its strength and theirs. Wasn't it supposed to be missing the 8 Tails and 9 Tails chakra? How can it be this strong? An Obito shadow clone felt his scalp prickle. Strong shinobi could sometimes repel a tailed beast ball, but only a few could do so with ease. Only one person on their small team could handle it comfortably. "It's finally time. You may withdraw." Without looking back, Madara leaped onto the 10 Tails' head. He had noticed Po Myeon-Daitu's odd behavior. Obito might not have honestly resurrected him, and with the allied shinobi forces trying to seal him, the situation could become chaotic. Tobi, still strong enough to be useful, was too valuable to lose. As a being with the abilities of White Zetsu, he could slip to any part of the battlefield unseen. Regret flashed across Tobi's face. He hadn't even had time to ask what convenience was like, and then he submerged himself undergrow, und. Since the Ten Tails is resurrected, it's time for the Eye of the Moon plan. I want to become the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, Madara said calmly, testing Pomien Daitu. He had left a cursed seal on Pomien Daitu long ago, but Daitu was no longer the pliant youth he'd been then. Now he possessed both Rinnegan and Hashirama cells. If he were at full strength, he might resist the seal and even destroy the Rinnegan to prevent resurrection. Heh, you want me to be reincarnated? I'd die, Pomien Daitu sneered, not bothering to mask his contempt. He assumed Madara could read some of his thoughts. Zetsu had always been watching him. I still have things unfinished. Besides, the Ten Tails hasn't fully grown. Your impatience is pointless. Compared to the allied shinobi, Madara was still helpful to Daitu for the moment, so Daitu kept up appearances. Inwardly he clung to his own dream, the infinite Tsukuyomi. If he could cast it, all his crimes would be erased. Within that dream world, everyone would be resurrected, and the world would be free of war. Madara said nothing more. He silently formed hand signs and linked to the Ten Tails, sharing control with Pomien Daitu. At headquarters, the allied shinobi units mobilized and rushed to the battlefield, easing the pressure on Kakamon and the others. To prevent friendly fire against shinobi from parallel worlds, the command explicitly ordered troops not to attack recognizable figures like Orochimaru, Sasori, and Kakuzu. Individual jonin were still relatively weak, but coordinated ninjutsu in unified command could unleash tremendous power. Even the Ten Tails was temporarily restrained by their combined attacks. Madara narrowed his eyes. The allied shinobi's coordination was unusually tight. Someone must be directing them remotely. He began to search for that control. The Ten Tails roared and shattered the containment jutsu, then further evolved. Its body thinned, while rounded protrusions formed along its back. It had been gathering power, not trapped. Meanwhile, Naruto learned chakra transfer from Kurama and distributed the tailed beast's chakra to all allied shinobi. Kurama's chakra bolstered their strength and restored fighters like Kakashi, who had nearly exhausted themselves. Under that enhancement, Kitsuchi's Earth Release and the Nara clan's shadow techniques began to bind the Ten Tails again. Neji and Hinata combined to perform 8 trigrams empty palm and managed to repel parts of the beast. Obito, is this what you intended? Letting them loose like this? Madara asked with displeasure. Under Pomien Daitu's influence, the Ten Tails had little aggressive initiative. It hadn't even fired a tailed beast ball. If you won't act, then I will. Madara activated the Hashirama cells within himself to strengthen his hold on the Ten Tails and targeted the command center. Pomien Daitu didn't intervene. He expected Madara would only try to eliminate the allied command. Under Madara's control, the Ten Tails opened wide and formed a massive teardrop-shaped tailed beast ball. The allied forces weren't naive. They tracked the ball's trajectory and used everything at their disposal to divert it. The Ten Tails' attack was so potent that even Naruto and Killer Bee could only nudge its path. It was far too big to be intercepted directly. But no maneuver could buy time forever. When a tailed beast ball that couldn't be diverted locked onto the command center, every shinobi felt their hearts drop. My Kamui isn't fast enough, Kakashi said grimly. Kamui could absorb a tailed beast ball, but this one was enormous and packed with too much chakra. It would take his Kamui far longer than usual to pull it in. Is the command center that important? An Obito shadow clone asked. Of course. Without Shikaku's command, the allied forces would become a shambles, Kakashi answered solemnly. The command center was the brain of their forces. Is that so? Then I'll leave Rin with you for now. Protect her, or the main body will be angry when he finds out. The Obito clone smiled and accused the Nine-Tails chakra Naruto had given him, along with his own. Receiving Naruto's chakra had given the clone a strange sensation, as if he could use Kamui. Whether it was the Dragon Vein chakra's strengthening or the Nine-Tails' influence, he didn't know. He could use Kamui, but it wasn't as effortless as it was for the main body. Using both eyes at once would drain him completely. Shadow clones had their own consciousness. This clone wanted to survive as long as possible to protect Rin Nohara, but he wouldn't hoard chakra at the cost of the lives in the command center. With a burst of chakra, the clone's eyes manifested the Mangekyo Sharingan. The shuriken shapes in his pupils spun, space warped around the ten-tails tailed beast ball, and then the ball vanished as if it had never been. Obito, you? Kakashi and Kakamon stared in shock. They had never expected a mere shadow clone to activate Kamui and absorb the attack so swiftly. If the main body shows up, you can tell him I said he always dumps trouble on his clones, the Obito clone said. And one more thing, protect Rin. Those were his last words, and instead of fizzling like an ordinary clone, he dissipated into motes of light. Kakashi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. A touching farewell ended with a request to scold his main body. Pomi and Daitu watched in surprise. Obito had displayed the Mangekyo Sharingan after all. If he had Kamui, he should understand Daitu, and yet Rin was still alive. Was she resurrected? Nara Shikaku seized the moment to issue a new set of commands directing the allied shinobi to attack Pomi, Daitu, and Madara. With their pressure, the link between Daitu and Madara to the Ten-Tails was broken briefly. But then the Ten-Tails unleashed a far greater destructive force. It used heaven and earth transformation, an ability that twisted natural phenomena. Lightning danced savagely and hurricanes roared. The battlefield became apocalyptic. In the chaos, Pomi and Daitu pulled Rin Nohara into the Kamui dimension again. Remembering the Obito clone's words, Kakashi formed a shadow clone and followed them into that dimension. Thanks to Kurama's protective chakra, the allied forces suffered no casualties, but the strain consumed every bit of Nine-Tails chakra they had. Naruto lost Kurama's chakra and exited his Kurama mode. Kakamon reached his limit and was forced out of his fusion mode as well. Kakashi and Nagato, both panting heavily, reappeared before the others. Sorry, I seem to be a bit late, but it shouldn't be too late, right? A young black-haired man wearing goggles materialized beside a kunai, scratching his head as he spoke. 778. What kind of Hokage are you? Senju Tobirama frowned as he realized he'd been Edo Tensei'd again. Someone had managed to undo the corpse reanimation seal, a feat that should have been impossible. Hiruzen Sarutobi looked equally surprised. If the Shinigami had sealed them, they shouldn't have been reanimated at all. Whoever did this had broken the seal. It's that ninja named Orochimaru again, someone muttered. Orochimaru, standing nearby, raised his hands placatingly. Hokage, I bear no ill will this time. Sasuke only has some questions for you. Sasuke, who dragged them here, was still raw from the Itachi incident. He wanted the truth before deciding whether to help or to destroy Konoha. He looked at the assembled Hokage and asked bluntly, "Who are you two?" The old Senju who had just appeared squinted at the two young ninjas he didn't recognize. "I am the fourth Hokage," he said. Minato Namikaze turned, showing the 5 big kanji embroidered on his Hokage robe. "And I should be the 6th Hokage of the future." Obito stroked his chin in confusion. When he had opened his eyes, his companions were gone, and instead, these legendary figures, and a face that had haunted his nightmares, were standing before him. He found himself wondering, absurdly, what exactly was the point of establishing the Ninja Academy and what the policy's original intentions had been. Then, like a voice from a dream, someone observed, "Obito, even you've been Edo Tensei'd? You've grown so much." Minato's expression shifted to surprise. He hadn't expected to see his student again under these circumstances. Before Obito could explain, Orochimaru added, matter-of-factly, "Minato, look closely. He's alive. He just inexplicably appeared with you." Obito blinked. He should have been on the battlefield, yet he was standing in Nanga Shrine. Strange as his appearance was, he stayed calm. "I'm not the Obito you knew," he said. "I didn't die." Someone else squinted and guessed, "So Obito had a twin brother?" Minato looked puzzled. "I don't think so. The Uchiha are nearly extinct after their attempted coup. The only ones left should be Itachi and Sasuke." Hiruzen, to his credit, didn't accept it so simply. "Another coup? As I thought, the Uchiha are dangerous by nature." Tobirama's expression was neutral. He dealt with Uchiha trouble when he'd been the second Hokage, though coup attempts were usually nipped in the bud. "You're an Uchiha then?" Sasuke glanced at Obito in confusion. He'd thought only he and Madara remained. "That's not for you to generalize, old man. You're the second Hokage, right? Don't paint my whole clan with the same brush." Obito bristled at Tobirama's tone. The white-haired elder's words had haunted him before. Now he barked back. Tobirama answered calmly, as if lecturing rather than insulting. When the Uchiha are provoked, a special chakra acts on the optic nerve. It changes the eyes. That is the nature of the Sharingan. Obito listened, impressed. A non-Uchiha seemed to understand the Sharingan better than many Uchiha did. He was intrigued and then curious. I still have questions. Why was the Ninja Academy created? To protect children? To strengthen the Hokage's authority and dilute clan influence? Your policies. He kept firing questions at Tobirama, already answering some of them himself as he went along. If this had been Obito of old, he might have been flustered, but after years of study he'd changed. These things didn't rattle him. Tobirama folded his arms, eyebrow cocked. This young Uchiha, who claimed to be the sixth Hokage of the future, had actually done his homework. Studying past policies is fine, Tobirama said, but you must have original ideas for the present. How would you optimize Konoha's departments? Make the village more prosperous? How much have you thought about that? The barrage of questions from Tobirama turned on Obito. He hadn't seriously planned his policies for the day he might become Hokage. Minato had only recently taken the office. But Obito, unbowed, produced a scroll, and casually pulled out a test paper, a mix of his own notes, things he'd paid others to draft, and problems he'd bought. He'd prepared them for future students. Problem-solving had been a tradition passed down from Mu Yue, and he wasn't about to drop it. Tobirama peered at the paper. Every question was about him, his policies, his essays, the reports he'd written on the Warring States period. Obito had already reviewed the policies. Now he quizzed Tobirama about the man's literary choices. "Why is the armor blue in your piece?" Obito asked. "Because I like blue armor," Tobirama replied matter-of-factly. Obito's face lit up. He thought he'd trapped Tobirama. "Wrong," he said, reciting a polished critique. "Blue symbolizes melancholy. It represents how the wars made the author." He shoved the scripted answer into Tobirama's grasp. Tobirama frowned so hard his brow creased into a single line. Hashirama laughed outright at the sight. "Ha ha! So you, Tobirama, don't even understand what you wrote." Suigetsu Hozuki, watching these exchanges, snorted. These legendary shinobi weren't as infallible as the tales suggested. They were human, petty, and occasionally ridiculous. "This isn't important," Sasuke intervened, cutting through the levity. "I want the facts about Itachi and the village. I need to decide whether to destroy Konoha." Obito's eyes flashed. He was someone who intended to become Hokage. The idea of destroying the village felt like an affront. Destroy Konoha? How arrogant. Sasuke barely flinched. He raised his gaze and the Mangekyo Sharingan flared. Obito responded in kind, activating his own Mangekyo. The two stared each other down until a low, powerful aura built in the air as Tobirama accepted the display with a satisfied smirk. Hashirama followed, and the release of chakra from the immortals shook the shrine like a quake. The sheer presence made Suigetsu's body waver. Even Orochimaru, who'd caused this situation, took a step back and gathered chakra, not to fight Hashirama, which would be suicide, but to prepare to lift the reanimation if things went sideways. "Tobirama, don't frighten the child," Hashirama admonished gently, and Tobirama drew his chakra back. Hiruzen then told the story of Itachi and the Uchiha. As he spoke, Obito realized that much of what Madara had claimed was true. Itachi had been forced to massacre his clan and then infiltrate Akatsuki. Obito made a mental note to tell Shisui, who had been naive about some things, if they ever met. Hashirama recounted the state of Konoha's affairs after. Obito, already familiar with the history, grew impatient. He turned to Orochimaru. "What's the date today?" "October 9th, Orochimaru replied. Obito did the math mentally. A couple of days late, then. Mu Yue had warned them. Traveling across parallel worlds could introduce small temporal and spatial errors. With Celebi's help, they wouldn't be displaced by years like Naruto or the 100-footed ninja had been, but fluctuations of 2 or 3 days were possible. For a shinobi war, that was negligible. Wars were measured in years. He took a breath and used the moment to explain to Minato, "I'm not from this world. I'm Uchiha Obito from a parallel world." Tobirama listened, skeptical at first, but there was too much corroborating evidence. Orochimaru, too, had witnessed anomalies. If Kabuto had ever known about parallel worlds, Orochimaru would know. Eventually, Tobirama accepted it. Then Tobirama's expression changed. His sensory abilities flared. He'd picked up a familiar chakra. Uchiha Madara is already on the battlefield, he said. I'll go. At the word Madara, Obito didn't wait for anyone else. He bolted for the front. The war, he realized, was already in full swing. He was only 2 days late, and it was nearly over. A sudden, jarring memory intruded into his mind. A flash of identity that said, impossibly, I am Uchiha Madara. He staggered at the thought, but didn't stop. Using the Flying Thunder God kunai left by a shadow clone as a marker, Obito teleported precisely, Yai, and arrived on the battlefield first. You're late, Kakashi said flatly. Obito shot back with a guilty half-grin. Very late. Should I've helped some old folks across the street in a time rift too? Kakashi rolled his eye. Obito, you're an idiot. Nagato, ever earnest, tried to defend him. It's not that bad. When I opened my eyes, it was already the 9th evening, and I was in Konoha. Obito muttered. I was scolding the shadow clone. Then, quickly, he decided his priorities. More reinforcements will arrive later. I'm going to protect Rin. Without further explanation, Obito activated Kamui and slipped into the Kamui dimension, heading straight for the fight. 779. Battle of the Two Lands Sizzle. As soon as he stepped into the Kamui dimension, Kakashi gathered a concentrated ball of chakra in his palm and performed lightning-release chakra nature transformation. Lightning wrapped his hand, activated the cells throughout his body, and greatly increased his speed. After wrestling with Pomi and Daitu for a while, Kakashi noticed Rin Nohara, brought into the Kamui dimension, frozen in a genjutsu. He tried several times to free her, but Pomi and Daitu kept blocking him. Obito, turn back. You know what you're doing. Don't make any more mistakes, Kakashi advised. He could read fragments of Pomi and Daitu's thoughts. Even if this Rin was from a parallel world, Pomi and Daitu didn't want her to watch them fight. If he had a choice, Kakashi truly didn't want to fight him. Pomi and Daitu had once been his hero, the one who saved him. Rin is right here. Ask her. If she had sacrificed herself, would she want Obito to drown in hatred forever, or to keep his original dream of becoming Hokage? Kakashi said. Pomi and Daitu snorted. Heh, Kakashi, you've really fallen. That's an imposter using Rin's name. What meaning do her words have? Besides, do you think I started all this just because you killed Rin? He declared. The real reason I started this war is this despairing ninja world. In truth, Pomi and Daitu believed he knew everything. He believed Rin had run into Kakashi's lightning blade herself, and that Kakashi had never meant to kill her. He didn't hate Kakashi so much as he hated the ninja world itself, this world that could never keep the peace. Kakashi, you must be in great pain too. Your father ended his own life. You lost comrades, he insisted. If I cast the infinite Tsukuyomi, all of this will vanish. Your world will be beautiful again, and everything you cherish will return. Is that why you want to control the entire world with genjutsu? It shouldn't be this way. The parallel world proved there are better options, Kakashi answered calmly. The 5 great shinobi villages can unite to protect the ninja world. And then, in 10 or 20 years, they'll fight again for self-interest and start another shinobi world war, Pomi and Daitu scoffed. He was now convinced only the infinite Tsukuyomi could save this despairing world. That won't happen. You don't even know what the Ninja World Alliance is, Obito, who had just entered the Kamui dimension, quickly retorted. Pomi and Daitu was surprised to see Obito return so soon. You're the one talking nonsense. You haven't experienced despair, so you don't understand the true nature of the ninja world. Although you're called Uchiha Obito, you're just an imposter with an empty name, Kakashi added in a low voice. He remembered how different Pomi and Daitu had once been, how he had once wanted to be Hokage and end the war. And Naruto, he's a lot like the old you. That's why you care so much about him. Come back, become the former you. Help us seal Uchiha Madara, resolve the 10 tails. There's still time. Kakashi pleaded. Kakashi, you've been a shinobi for over 20 years? Are you as naive as him? Pomi and Daitu mocked. Kakashi glanced at Obito, giving him a look. Obito understood, stepped to Kakashi's side, and subtly patted his back, leaving a Flying Thunder God technique mark. In the next instant, Kakashi launched himself at Pomi and Daitu. Bolstered by Ninetail's chakra, he was fighting stronger than he had in a long time. Obito hurled 2 Flying Thunder God kunai toward Pomi and Daitu's position as well. Even if 2 wastes join forces, they can only stall a little longer, Pomi and Daitu scoffed. He formed hand signs fast, gathering chakra. Fire release, great fireball technique. A boiling torrent of flame erupted from his throat, forming a massive fireball. Obito, meanwhile, synthesized natural energy into Sage Chakra and entered breathing technique chakra mode. Flame breathing, full concentration, he shouted, driving his state to the fullest. You're the useless one, always saying the world is hopeless. Cess, if there were more like you, it really would be hopeless. Obito spat. He transformed his chakra into fire release and unleashed his own great fireball, an over 8-meter inferno, used with the force of a super high-level ninjutsu thanks to Sage mode and flame-breathing chakra mode. Pomi Daitu was taken aback. Despite his mastery of fire release and Hashirama cells, he couldn't match Obito's power. Their fireballs collided. Pomi Daitu's was swallowed and pushed back toward him. Kakashi, circling wide, struck at the same moment. Pomi Daitu avoided the ninjutsu and produced black rods to engage Kakashi in close combat. Heh, aren't you afraid of my genjutsu? Then you'll understand. You'll know real despair, he sneered at Obito. What do I have to fear? Obito retorted coldly. With his mastery of Kamui, he could dispel most genjutsu if he willed it. As Pomi Daitu's genjutsu activated, two figures formed in Obito's vision, a 12-year-old Kakashi clutching the lightning blade and a young Rin Nohara. Kakashi thrust forward, his arm flickering with lightning, and the blade pierced Rin's chest. Blood spattered. Rin's eyes went lifeless. Obito's pupils dilated. Instinctively, his chakra surged to the peak and he broke the genjutsu. The scene had hit him too hard. There were no flaws in the illusion. Everything looked real. He remembered the Shadow Clone's memory, where Pomi Daitu had accused Kakashi of killing Rin, and Kakashi's face then had shown self-reproach. The genjutsu's scene matched that memory, and Obito's disbelief turned into horror. In this world, Rin had been killed by Kakashi. The Kakashi who failed to protect Rin is a lie. The dead Rin is a lie. This world of despair is the root of all falsehoods, Pomi Daitu said slowly, watching Obito's reaction. He knew Obito shared Kamui with him and could understand him. Obito, don't be influenced. Stick to your original aspiration. Seeing Obito frozen, Kakashi quickly urged him. He rushed toward Rin, hoping to wake her and change the situation. He had planned to team up with Obito's main body to defeat Pomi Daitu, but hadn't freed Rin earlier because he thought they could handle things together. Don't do anything unnecessary, Pomi Daitu warned and lunged at Kakashi, extending a thick tree branch arm. As they tangled, Obito moved. Rasengan, he yelled, flashing to Kakashi's side and slamming a Rasengan into Pomi Daitu's torso. The impact sent wood splinters flying and hurled Pomi Daitu backward to the ground. Pomi Daitu had believed Kakashi wouldn't kill his comrade. The Rin who died showed no shock, only a hint of relief. Maybe Rin really had died at Kakashi's hands, but there had to be more to it. Kakashi exhaled with relief. Obito had been more dependable than he'd expected. The Flying Thunder Godmark plus the Rasengan even reminded him of their teacher, Minato Namikaze. Pomi Daitu's expression darkened when he realized how quickly Kakashi and Obito had synced their tactics. You brat, an imposter. Even with Rin like this, you remain indifferent, he spat. Obito's reaction, his refusal to be swayed, went further than Pomi Daitu had expected. No, even for a Rin from a parallel world, seeing her end like that hurts, Obito said. He felt real sorrow over the possibility of Rin's tragic fate in another reality. But no matter how painful, we can't keep running away. Obito remembered Mu Yue's, his teacher's, moment of wanting to escape in the face of Madara, but he vowed not to give in. Reality is reality. No matter how beautiful a genjutsu is, it's still fake. When faced with cruel reality, we must try to change it, not create more tragedies. Kakashi listened, a complex expression on his face. He felt struck by Obito's words. Had he run away when he was younger, might things have turned out differently? You haven't truly lost anyone, so of course you can say such high-sounding things, Pomi Daitu growled, wiping blood from his lip. The words gnawed at him. The Obito of the parallel world hadn't been rushed by a boulder, hadn't seen his best friend kill his beloved. He had no right to preach. When you truly lose someone, you'll know how ridiculous you sound. With that, he formed hand seals and charged toward Rin. Kakashi took a deep breath, his disappointment plain. He didn't want to kill Pomi Daitu, but the old Obito was gone. Obito had spoken sincerely, Yet Daitu stubbornly refused to listen. "Kill him as much as possible," Kakashi said. Killing Daitu now was a way to protect the Obito who had once wanted to become Hokage. Obito nodded. He could hardly believe Daitu would attack Rin like this. The man had fallen completely. The old Obito had vanished, replaced by someone intent on enslaving the world with genjutsu. "I won't accept this. I could become like you. Let me end you with my own hands," Obito shouted. "Stop boasting. You hothouse flower should stay safe and never come out." Daitu taunted. "Sage Art, Fire Dragon Flame Bullet." Obito roared, pouring sage chakra into a roaring sea of fire to block Daitu's advance. Daitu backed off, and Obito transformed the sea of flames into fiery dragons that coiled and closed around him. Earth Release, Earth Flow Wall. Kakashi formed seals and raised walls around Daitu, constricting his escape. Earth Release, Earth Dragon Bullet. Daitu burrowed beneath the earth and re-emerged beyond Kakashi's wall, using it to shield himself from the Fire Dragon Flame Bullet. But Obito had unleashed full power. The high-temperature flames battered the wall and breached it. Daitu tried to cancel Obito's fire release with more of his own, and in the melee Kakashi darted in, only to be pierced by a black rod from a cautious Daitu. Sizzle! The pierced Kakashi crackled into lightning and wrapped Daitu. It wasn't Kakashi's main body, but a lightning clone he'd split off while the earth flow wall blocked the view. Obito flashed into position and faced Daitu, who was stunned by the electrified strike. Seeing a face so much like his own, Obito clenched his fist and gathered a massive amount of chakra. "Bang! This punch! I'm throwing it for Naruto. Do you know how much he suffered because of you?" Obito's blow smashed into Daitu's face, distorting it and sending teeth flying. Obito had lost his parents long ago and knew what it meant to grow up without them. Even with a grandmother's care, some losses couldn't be undone. Because of Daitu, Naruto had suffered even more. He had grown up alone. Daitu barked in reply, still spouting the same justification. "This is a necessary sacrifice. Everything he wants will return once the infinite Tsukuyomi is cast." Hearing that enraged Obito. Killing real parents and replacing them with fake genjutsu guardians was monstrous. "This is for the ninjas who sacrificed themselves in war. Because of your plan, who knows how many have died." He pummeled Daitu again without holding back. A dull thud sent Daitu flying, blood streamed from his battered face, and his speech slurred. Kakashi pressed in and re-engaged him in close combat. Whoosh! Obito, wrapped in red chakra, reappeared behind Daitu. He had already left a flying thunder god mark on him during the fight. Sage Art, Flame Fist. Obito launched a fist laced with powerful fire release chakra straight through Daitu's chest, obliterating his heart. "It's over. Remember to apologize to those who died because of you if you still have a shred of conscience," Obito said as he withdrew his arm. He let Daitu fall and then walked toward Rin Nohara without looking back. Humans had two vital weaknesses, heart and mind. Obito had just destroyed the heart. Cough, cough! Daitu spat blood, his gaze locked on Obito's back. Although the outcome was what he had wanted, he felt bitterly dissatisfied. He channeled Kamui and teleported away. Kakashi exhaled deeply. He had intended to kill Daitu himself, because having Odu it would be devastating for both of them, literally fratricide. But Daitu didn't speak. He simply disappeared with Kamui. "Is it over?" Kakashi wondered. No, the end was only beginning. For ordinary humans, losing a heart is fatal, but for the second six-path sage, it was merely an injury. Daitu now had more reasons to seek becoming the Ten Tails Jinchuriki. Obito noticed him leaving but paid him no mind. Even if Daitu had stayed, Obito would have had to remove him. Having a dead version of oneself in the Kamui dimension was bad luck. More importantly, he didn't want Rin to witness these events. During the fight, he had deliberately left Rin's genjutsu intact. "Why didn't you dispel the genjutsu?" Kakashi asked, glancing at Obito. "Do you think she'd be safe here in the Kamui dimension?" Obito shrugged. He had thought she'd be safer inside. "Then you better be ready to be scolded by Rin. She's very responsible and brave," Kakashi said, shaking his head. "Obito, you're such an idiot." "I didn't say Rin had to remain here. I just had a small idea," Obito protested gloomily. How is that being an idiot? No, this is me scolding you on behalf of the shadow clone, Kakashi muttered. Obito's reluctant expression when Kakashi teased him eased the tension. Kakashi had said that to lighten things. He worried that killing his self might traumatize Obito. Obito had been lost to hatred, and Kakashi sincerely wanted the real Obito, the ideal version, to prevail. Rin, are you all right? Obito asked after dispelling Rin's genjutsu. I'm fine, Obito. You're here. Did you have any trouble crossing over? Rin asked gently, shaking her head. No, just like Mu Yue-sensei said. It was only a small ripple, Obito replied. Where's that Obito? She asked, looking around. He's been defeated, Obito said. I see. Rin sighed lightly. Then let's go back outside quickly. Our only opponents left are Uchiha Madara and the Ten Tails. On the battlefield, the 4 Edo Tensei Hokage had used the 4 Crimson Ray formation to pin the Ten Tails in place. The other shinobi focused on wiping out the clones the Ten Tails kept splitting off. Suddenly, a distortion opened over the Ten Tails, and the dying Po Mian Daitu collapsed onto its flank. What a pity, he murmured. I wanted to fight Hashirama before the plan. Uchiha Madara's eyes narrowed. He activated a curse technique, trying to seize Po Mian Daitu's body and force a reincarnation. Madara had intended to battle Hashirama while both were Edo Tensei. After becoming the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, Hashirama and he would be on completely different levels, and a fair fight would be impossible. But Po Mian Daitu was near death. Madara's original scheme was thrown off. Hashirama immediately ordered the shinobi to stop Madara and prevent Po Mian Daitu's revival. Minato Namikaze tensed. The instant Po Mian Daitu appeared, Minato felt the signature mark of his Flying Thunder God technique on the man's body, the same teleportation seal the masked man had used during the Nine Tails incident. So, it was you. Minato let out a long, quiet breath and formed a shadow clone. The clone materialized, clutching a kunai, teleported in with Flying Thunder God, and struck, cutting down the tiny figure of Po Mian Daitu while he was forming a hand seal. Obito, you're not dead? The clone stared at Po Mian Daitu with a tangled expression. He had never expected the ambitious, Konoha-hating masked man to be the Obito he'd thought had sacrificed himself. Po Mian Daitu's lips curved faintly as pain and triumph mixed. He had succeeded, already, before Minato's blade hit him. Whoosh! Even as Minato prepared another strike, the immobile 10 tails beneath everyone's feet surged toward Po Mian Daitu. In an instant, the mountain-sized beast was completely absorbed into Po Mian Daitu's body. The gaping hole in his chest sealed, his skin and hair blanched white. But becoming the 10 tails Jinchuriki was even harsher than he'd imagined. A savage, single-minded hunger assaulted his mind, pressing him toward nothing but absorbing chakra and destroying everything. My memories. Soul-deep agony tore through Po Mian Daitu as he realized with horror that his memories were being erased. The 10 tails was trying to devour him. From the outside, he stood dazed. The 4 Edo Hokage and the other strong shinobi surged, but Po Mian Daitu brushed off their attacks easily. Obito, don't make this mistake. Turn back. Minato pleaded. Despite having been killed by this man in Kushina, Minato bore no hatred, only regret that he hadn't reached Obito in time to save him. Tobirama's eyes tightened. I said he looked familiar, so the Obito from our world didn't die. He also felt that in truth, this Obito would have been better off gone. Obito? The 10 tails Jinchuriki Po Mian Daitu muttered the name, haunted by a hollow emptiness. His body, unable to fully master the 10 tails' power, began to bloat and mutate until he resembled the beast itself. Space rippled again, and another Obito, this one accompanied by Kakashi and Rin, appeared on the field, bewildered. He stared at the white monster that still bore Po Mian Daitu's face. What the hell is this? He had a pot-sized hole in his chest and should have died. Instead, he had turned into a towering white horror. Kakashi frowned. Obito? Rin's eyes widened. She had thought Po Mian Daitu already killed by Obito and Kakashi. Hearing her gentle voice broke through something inside the 10 tails Jinchuriki. Memories of Rin flashed into him and then faded again. Don't even think about taking Rin from me. You damned beast! Give me back all my memories! Po Mian Daitu roared inwardly, smothering the 10 tails' influence with sheer force of will. His eyes cleared, his mind snapped back into focus. A pressure wave rolled out, sending dust and debris flying. When the smoke parted, the bloated white monster was gone. In its place stood 6 paths Obito, Rokudo Shikujo in hand, several black truth-seeking orbs floating behind him. You should have gone first, 6 paths Obito said with a faint smile to the other Obito, who stood staring in shock. Thanks to the Hashirama cells in his body, he could hold on a little while despite lacking a heart, but if his skull was crushed, even Hashirama cells wouldn't save him. You bastard. The other Obito's eyelids twitched in rage. He swore to himself that from now on he would burn his enemies' bodies to ash so they couldn't return. Tobirama swept beside him. Kid, you're also Obito. Do you have any way to stop him? If he uses Kamui to avoid damage, I can counter it, Obito said. He vowed that if 6 paths Obito dared to hide inside Kamui, he would give him a nasty surprise. Tobirama shook his head. This Kamui isn't the issue. He's stronger than my brother now. We need to find an exploitable weakness. Naruto quickly filled in details. Because there were 2 Obitos, he called the present one Brother Obito, so everyone could tell them apart. The problem had grown beyond Kamui. The real threat was 6 paths Obito's overwhelming, near-divine strength. Earlier, while his mind had been hazy, combined attacks had failed to dent him. Obito's face went cold. Even stronger than the first, he muttered, thinking of how Hashirama had once been a deterrent to entire nations. There's no weakness, but there is a way to win, he said after a moment. If we can hold out until tomorrow, and Teacher Mu Yue arrives, everything will be resolved. He hadn't underestimated 6 paths Obito. He thought Mu Yue could handle him. Mu Yue had once said Celebi's control of time would limit fluctuations to no more than 3 days. It was currently the evening of the 2nd day. If they could just stall a little longer, Mu Yue should arrive. Why Mu Yue was last remained a mystery. Perhaps his chakra interfered with something, or time fluctuations had delayed him, but Obito didn't dwell on it. 6 paths Obito scoffed. Are there more reinforcements? It's pointless. I've become the 2nd 6-path sage, the only true existence in this world. Fine, Obito said coolly. If you're so confident, call a truce and we'll fight again tomorrow. 6 paths Obito hummed, amused by the bravado. He wasn't going to actually agree to a truce, but he would let the taunt stand. You're not afraid? That's normal. The teacher Mu Yue you fear is so strong. Naruto jumped in, egging him on with a grin. 6 paths Obito snorted. He didn't believe anyone named Mu Yue could beat him, and he certainly wasn't going to be dissuaded by taunts. His plan of 10 years, to cast the infinite Tsukuyomi and bring peace, was finally within reach. Obito, do you really think casting a genjutsu on everyone will bring peace? Rin demanded. She sensed a desire for peace in him, but she also sensed the darkness that had misled him. If you get everything in an illusion, reality doesn't change. You, who know genjutsu, should understand that. 6 paths Obito replied coldly. In the infinite Tsukuyomi, everyone gets what they want. All conflict disappears. Isn't that peace? No, Rin said, stepping forward into a fighting stance. Ordinary persuasion would no longer reach him. I won't let you keep making this mistake. Rin, stop calling him Obito. Call him bastard. Otherwise it feels like you're insulting me, the other Obito muttered, scratching his head. 6 paths Obito's grip around his staff tightened briefly, then relaxed. Sasuke launched Amaterasu. The black flames were brushed away with a casual wave of the staff. Kakashi tried Kamui. 6 paths Obito evaded it without trouble. Other powerful shinobi also struck, but nothing seemed to wound him. Some shinobi who knew Sage Mode discovered it could harm 6 paths Obito, but most Sage Modes aside from Naruto's barely registered against him. Obito used the lull to pull Rin closer to Kakashi and the others. Why not give the Potara earrings to Naruto and Hashirama? If they fused, they might match the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki. Kakashi shook his head. They'd already tried using the earrings after Obito had entered the Kamui dimension. It had failed. Hashirama's failure made sense. He wasn't truly alive. But Naruto's inability surprised Kakashi. He guessed that Naruto's tailed beast made pairing with an earring user impossible. 3 consciousnesses would cause the fusion to fail. That near failure had nearly had the earrings stolen, so Kakashi and Naruto hadn't tried again lightly. Random gambles were worse than saving the earrings for recovery and a more certain refusion, or waiting for Obito to re-emerge and fuse with Shisui. Guy, can you open the 8th gate now? I have a plan if you can, Shisui asked. Might Guy gave a confident thumbs up. No problem. The red beast can appear any time. Kakashi's eyes flickered. If Shisui used his divine imperial throne, the time-based eye technique, and Guy opened the 8th gate, the combination would be devastating. Are you going to use that? Shisui nodded. Divine imperial throne was precious, but a comrade's life was worth more than any technique. I'll fuse with Obito, he said. With 8th gate Guy and the Hokage of this world, it might work. Obito suggested another idea. Since you're using divine imperial throne, why not have Guy fuse with the guy from Naruto's world? 2 guys as one with the 8th gate would be extraordinary. Kakashi shook his head. Too risky. The 8th gate's chakra is violent. If the gate goes wild and the earrings can't contain it, the fusion could end unexpectedly. The consequences would be unpredictable. He had indeed considered a double Guy fusion. Their compatibility would be perfect, but the gate's nature made the gamble unacceptable. If the fusions split and only one guy retained the effect, or neither did, the result could be catastrophic. I'm almost fully recovered, Kakashi said after a moment. I'll fuse with Obito, keep everything else the same. Bastard Obito is too strong, one Kamui won't be enough. Obito protested. Hey, why do you have to say Obito? Just call him Bastard. Fine, we'll do it your way, Shisui agreed. Nagato nodded as well. Rumble. 6 Paths Obito, now familiar with his new body, released the 10 tails and transformed it into the divine tree, preparing the final steps to cast the infinite Tsukuyomi. The tree drank the world's energy and shot upward, instantly towering above the battlefield. Its aura made Kakashi's skin crawl. He snapped an earring onto his ear. Obito did the same. The 2 earrings hummed and pulled them together. The moment their bodies touched, a blinding white light enveloped them. Divine Imperial Throne, Shisui intoned, his Mangekyo Sharingan spinning as he activated the technique over Might Guy. 8 gates! Guy roared as he prepared to unleash everything he had.